carp. You haven't really been returning my calls, so I figured I'd try and reach your healer. So yeah, just give me a call back or something. I had a really fun time with you.
Are you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef here for another episode of Jigs and Bigs. It's a Sunday evening. We're recording. We got our Patreon subscribers, our jig heads. They're in the house. We have a lot of stuff to discuss this week. First and foremost, I had a little powwow, a get-together with my trailer guy, my modification guy, and a couple of new things have come to light. There's been a little bit of a change in plans, so we're moving forward with what we're doing with this vehicle, but we'll talk about that. We've got a big wrap-up, obviously, this week was the 2021 season ender for MAKB right here in Massachusetts. We're going to talk about how all that went down. There's a whole lot of competition that happened on Lake Chungamunga Bog, and you're not going to want to miss out on all those details. We got to look into 2022, however, not just for what's going on with MAKB, but also what you can look forward to with EKF in the coming year. Of course, we've got some stuff that we're going to go over in, let's actually talk about FTG. We got a doozy, very close friend to the show, and we'll reveal exactly who she is in a bit when we get to that segment, but you're not going to want to miss this. This is a doozy. This is something. It's up there. I want to talk about Matt Thayer and Klondike Custom Creations, how amazing those baits are, because we got a package in the mail, and we're going to go over all that stuff. We have, what else do we have going on here? Oh, we're going to talk about cold water and weeds. What's the relationship there? We're going to learn something. I got some questions that I'm going to throw over at Sean the Fisherman, try and figure all this stuff out. Obviously, we've got week 3 of Chronic Trips coming up that we've actually just completed. We'll go over kind of what's been going on over here as far as all that's concerned. Plus, we've got an interview with the one and only Ryan Bogli, a.k.a. The Butcher. Yeah, he's in the beef seat. And we're going to have a little conversation. We're going to talk about what he's got lined up for this year as far as what's going on. He's made some big announcements. Let's see if he can back that stuff up. Plus, we have a special song to go out on tonight, guys. So sit right there. Get yourself something delicious to enjoy. We'll see you in a bit. Don't go too far. So, two things before we get started. That was a message that I received that I am thoroughly... We started the show off, even before Howie, with a message that I received that was just labeled carp. That's what it was called, carp. And after looking into... I'm just going to try to connect some dots here, Sean. But was that message meant for you? Because you had recently posted on Instagram about your state pin award for Connecticut after a seemingly excruciating process of fact-finding. There was polygraphs. There were cavities that were searched. All this shit had gone on. And you would kind of joke that, like, this carp hasn't been returning calls or such and such, or you haven't been answering those calls, something like that. And then I get this message labeled carp about you not returning calls, and there was a fun day had out on the water, and I'm a little curious. And why does that carp sound like Roadkill Nick?
There's a lot of stuff going on with that
Did you
call.
catch Roadkill Nick on Candlewood? Is that what I was? Roadkill Nick towing you around?
Might have.
Is he a bottom feeder?
He is. He's definitely a bottom feeder. What I did was, me being creative and semi-cute, I got on Instagram, and we talked about I think at some point or another, right when it happened, the process that the state of Connecticut uses to determine its award winners for its catch and release fish program, which is a little extensive. They need witnesses. Thank God the photos that I had taken of holding that beautiful 25 or so pound carp. I don't know. I didn't weigh it. That's an estimate, but that was a big friggin' carp.
It's a big ass fish.
Big ass carp. A little extensive. Massachusetts, you take a picture, you give them a little bit of information, you submit it.
Yep.
The point of the Massachusetts one is you're going to get a state pin.
Yeah.
keep fishing our waters. If you're fishing our waters, chances are you're going down the street to buy a bag of chips and a soda.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting money in the economy. You've probably got a license. Fish with us, catch a big fish. You know, they're not super stringent. Connecticut, on the other hand, it's Connecticut.
It is,
and it's some Connecticut shit right there.
So some Connecticut shit right
I literally had to have a witness signature, information, all sorts of other stuff. So I had a little play with it.
Blood
I did
test.
thank the Connecticut. Yeah, I did thank the Connecticut DEEP, which I believe is Department of Environmental and some other shit protection. I don't know what the second E is.
Mm-hmm.
I forget. Whatever. They're the deep. I thanked them, and I said, after, what did I put? Extensive interviews, a body cavity search, and they even interviewed the carp, who will not, who I will not return phone calls to. So I had some fun and let everyone know that carp was behaving like a jilted lover.
Yep.
Apparently, that carp called, let us know what was going on. So there we're at. That's where we're at. That's
Lauren jumps in and says Connecticut next FTG candidate.
Well, I think they're just kind of the
FTS
obvious, the obvious selection for FTS.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should do a Jigs and Bigs award. What state earns the biggest jackass award for like outdoor stuff? Maybe that's something we could throw around for 2022 and do it as like an award show and say like, oh, for having the most ridiculous, I'll give an example, for the most ridiculous laws for, states where you can't hunt on certain days of the week. Massachusetts. You know what I mean?
See, with that example, we're going to go down that path. I actually think that Massachusetts and their shit take on hunting laws is actually really made up for, because I really like a lot of their fishing laws. Not all of them. There can be some tweaking, but for the most part, there's a lot of good stuff going on with the with fishing game on the fishing side in Massachusetts. I can't say that enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that they do right, and there's
And conversely, our beautiful neighbor to the south, Connecticut, their fishing laws are from the Stone Age, and their hunting laws are a lot open and freer. So I don't know.
I've heard that.
Hit the microphone. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Whatever. That's how we're going now.
It's passionate. That's what it is. We're passionate about this topic.
Let's take a step back to the intro that you just delivered for this beautiful show.
Yeah.
I can't let this go.
Okay.
It's straight out of jealousy. You got to do it, and I didn't.
I love it. Sorry. I love it. You should be the one to do it. I don't do it justice. I don't do it justice.
No, we have different flavors of
we do, but I feel like for you, it's I don't want to say an homage, but it's a tribute to the original. Like Mel Blanc would be like, good job, Sean. Good job. You know what I mean?
That cartoon, that particular episode had enough violence. Was that a Tex Avery episode?
Could have been.
Man, you kids
all those
out there,
old shows.
If you don't watch,
no.
If you don't watch Tex Avery cartoons, you need to, because they are a lesson in violence. And there's a lot of stuff that wouldn't fly in today's world, but you got to deal with that. But the amount of cartoon violence that we witnessed, it's
as
not like
children,
it's not like two cartoon characters nowadays. When we're like 8 watching these shows, I'm not talking about older, anime or stuff like that has more adult tones. I'm talking a cartoon that's on cable television, or before cable, it was just on regular network television, where one character and another character will have a conflict that one tries to solve by beating the other with an axe handle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was Tex Avery.
He
made it funny.
Yeah. You take any of the best Roadrunner and Coyote episodes, all the Tom and Jerry stuff.
Oh,
how many times have you seen one of those characters like smashed into the ground with a comically sized mallet made of wood? I mean,
Tex Avery tried to solve everything with blunt objects and explosives.
Yep.
It was awesome. Like,
and also, there is nothing better than when like somebody gets smashed with something, and then like the character is just like stunned, and they're like, and that bump just extrudes from their head, like.
Yes, there's one particular episode that is, I don't know, like obviously a lot of the cartoons from the 60s, 50s, 70s, they're not in any way, shape, or form PC regarding
no way.
things like
not today. Yeah, definitely
they're not. Compared
None
to
of
what
that
goes
shit
on.
flies. But when we were kids, like I connected with my grandfather over like Elmer Fudd being a jackass.
Yeah, but so I'm talking
know?
about some of the really dark stuff. You know what I mean?
Dude.
Like, there's some stuff that can't be put on TV today. But
oh yeah, if you YouTube some of that, I mean, if you do a search on YouTube, it's still there.
Yeah, it's not sanitized. But like, there's one particular episode of it was a Droopy cartoon. That's where Tex Avery really got his. It was the golden age of Tex Avery was with Droopy, and there was
Droopy's
one
so
episode
good.
where there was a bear trying to sleep, and he put the big bulldog Spike in charge, and Spike just had to keep it quiet, and Droopy was doing everything he could to make noise.
Of course.
And every 5 minutes there would be like this huge explosion, and the dog would Spike would run out, with hands full of dynamite that Droopy just lit, and blow himself up a mile away so he wouldn't get yelled at. But then a feather hits the ground. This bear comes running out of the door with like a club or an axe handle or a bat. And he's just yelling, "Quiet! Shut up! Quiet!" And he's beating the dog. It's pure comedy.
I'm trying to sleep, you jackass.
Oh no, it's straight up quiet. Shut up! Quiet! Try to sleep. Fantastic. Watch that episode, and everyone will have a laugh. I can't remember if there's any really. I think that's a tough thing. There's so much offensive shit in those cartoons.
Yeah. It's
that
nuts.
I get why some of it got sanitized, but that pure violence.
Oh yeah,
it's funny. Yeah. Where are we at? What do we do? Are we doing a podcast about fishing? How do we get into this shit?
We are doing a podcast about fishing, but we love violence and animation.
And cartoons.
Let's check in with some of our jig heads. We got Billy Hill jumping in here. Says, howdy, folks. Congratulations on the tourney, Sean.
We'll get into that.
We are going to get into that in just a bit. Trust me, you don't want to go too far with that shit. We got Jay Manning jumps in, says, hi, guys. Good to see you at OGO, Bobby. Jay, always a good time to see you. Man, what a good time. Jay, did you see that buck that was brought in to get weighed? I had the pleasure of seeing a glorious 8-pointer, almost 200 pounds, come in from that morning over at Old Glory Outdoors. I mean, absolutely a beast. I'm still waiting for my backstrap.
Just because you said it was glorious, I must ask on behalf of Howie, was it released in all its glory?
Oh, no, it was not. It was released into a meat grinder, I'm sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. It was sent out for, I believe Dale Gribble would say, sausagification.
Good.
Any
well
King
done.
of the Hill fans will appreciate that one. Sausagification. We, of course, have Lauren jumping in, commenting on those cartoons, too, saying we never need to be told not to try this at home. That's very true. And that's
very
because
true.
common sense
I've never
ain't so common.
run out of my bedroom with an axe handle and beat a bulldog yelling to be quiet. That is definitely true.
Mm-hmm. I've also never entered a door and had an anvil from Acme hit me. But there is a first time for everything.
Yes.
Oh, I will never forget. There was one time where we were working at Bernie's and somebody had asked me to take a bunch of, I forget what it was, old glass displays or something like that, and like take them out to the dumpster and chuck them. Like they were getting, all this stuff was getting tossed, and I'm walking and like an idiot, I got them over my head like this, and I'm like, all right, cool, and I hit something in the parking lot, like a dip or there was a crack in the concrete or something, and it like jostled a little bit, and all this glass just broke right over my head.
Oh my God.
Yeah, fell to the ground, and I get up, and I'm standing there, and people are like, oh, okay, good. He's okay.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was having one of those anvil moments.
Well,
my goodness.
What I always talk about with the dangerous work,
Yep.
not even the dangerous work we used to do, such as that, but like the danger we clearly put ourselves in and did not need to put ourselves in when we were working there.
Oh my
And this
God.
is a defunct company, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
about
they're not
stories
even
from
around
20,
anymore.
25 years
Yep.
ago. But do you remember what would happen on Trade-In TV Day?
Oh my God.
So the first time I worked at Trade-In TV Day, I came in. We had a promotion where we trade in TVs. You get X amount off on your new TV that you were buying.
It was a joke. You'd get like $30 or $40 off. It was
Yeah.
But we would take them. Like it wasn't like we'd send people home with them. Like no, we were like,
Yes.
no, yeah, we'll take them.
And this is this is about, let me think of the dates. So this is about 5 to 10 years before the flat screen CRTs came out.
Yeah.
And probably really 15 years before straight up flat screen TVs, thin flat screen TVs became
Light,
pop,
fat screen. Yeah, exactly.
So we were dealing with straight up CRTs and
CRTs and consoles. In a lot of these situations, there are console televisions, crazy heavy. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I remember coming in one day and I came downstairs into the stockroom and two of our associates who are going to be, remain nameless for the sake of this conversation.
We'll call them Nipple and Chop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Turtle was watching. And they were sitting 20 or so feet away from a CRT or a monitor or whatever it was, or a stack of them. It was just a pile. They were there. I don't know if some were broken and some weren't. And they were taking turns with a hammer.
Yep.
Sitting in a chair, throwing them at the screen. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're just like, it's trade-in day. Like, it was normal. This is what we do. We get trade-ins. And when we have time, instead of like cleaning up the stock room or doing something else, we sit 20 feet. Yeah, we sit 20 feet away from them and throw hammers at them.
Well,
I'm like, what the fuck? There's gas coming out of these CRTs when you break. I knew that at 18. I'm like, have you do that? We're all going to die. They're like, fuck it.
Yeah, but the noise is so worth it.
Pop. Pop.
It's just, it's everything.
We were idiots.
Yeah, we were really idiots, man. We're really, really, really idiots. Such good times, though. But, I mean, I would say this, for myself, this last week, highly lackluster. Highly. Yeah. I got out a number of times this week, and I'll tell you what, there was one day, it was smack dab in the middle of the week. I think it was like Wednesday, actually. I happened to need to run an errand and bring my wife, my lovely wife. She needed gas first thing in the morning. You know that mistake, the primary mistake in adulting most people make when they're like, yeah, I'm kind of low on fuel. Perhaps I should stop and get some. And they say, I'll do it in the morning.
Yeah.
It's a terrible idea. Always stop and get gas ahead of time. Always. Trust me, you'll thank me. Well, the problem was that she left her purse behind. So she's like, I think she had to like go out and come back or something like that. And she left her purse behind. So she calls me and she's like, if you have any running around to do, can you bring it to me? Because I got to get some gas. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I'll bring it over to her. Well, I happen to be in the area near her job where I knew there was some water, and I figured I would go and wet a line a little bit. Well, there were 4 separate ponds, and I thoroughly fished the hell out of these with 3 different baits that I'm very, very confident in, and fished the ever-living shit out of these things. Couldn't get bit on anything. Finally caught one little nibbler. That was the only fish that I had caught that day. I had gone to 2 spots the day before, and then I believe on Thursday, I had also gone and hit a couple of spots as well, all of which was fruitless. And then that brought me to Saturday. So Saturday was a big day for me. I had gone out initially to go and do a little bit of pond hopping, and it was kind of loose. I had left the idea of stopping by Old Glory out there kind of in the ether with I knew Delirious was going to be going by there as well, but nothing was concrete, So I'm on my way to my first spot, and I get a message from D, and he says that he's going to be at Old Glory at approximately 9 a.m., 9:15, something like that. So I said, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and change my coordinates and head right over there. We're going to go. We ended up hanging out and bullshitting with who was working that day? Oh, actually, so there's a couple of things. One thing is
Scott.
Scott was working, and we had a lovely conversation with with Scott about children's television. I don't know how we got on the topic. I don't remember. I'm old, and we were talking about this. And what's funny is that like myself, Delirious, and Scott from totally different generations. Totally different generations. And the show The Teletubbies came up. And Scott says, yeah, well, of course I'll watch Teletubbies. I mean, shit, I look like a Teletubby. So my question for you, my call to action this episode, guys, do we officially start referring to Scott, like with his nickname as Scott the Teletubby, or is it just simply Teletubby Scott?
What was the format that they used for their names? Because I know the only thing I know about the Teletubbies, because the Teletubbies got popular right when I enlisted, and I really stopped watching TV at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, we were not the demographic.
No.
Unless you're like dropping acid and like watching PBS.
Yeah, ravers got into that shit. Yeah, and I was not raving in the military.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did I mean, I know that there was that purple one called Tinky Winky, right? Was it Tinky Winky the Teletubby or Teletubby Tinky Winky?
No, I think Teletubbies was just like the umbrella name for all of them. They were just Tinky Winky fucking Poe. One of them was called Poe.
Poe?
Yeah. One of them was called Poe. Because Poe, there was a talking Teletubby, like, for a while, and it said some things that people construed as being highly offensive.
Oh, my God. Yeah. All right. So now I have to do research on this shit?
Yeah.
All right.
Our crack team. Not our team on crack. Our crack team of experts looking up the names of Teletubbies.
I might argue with the team on crack. So there's your Poe.
Poe's the red one, right?
We got what?
Poe's the red one?
Yeah, he's a red one. We got Dipsy is the green one. That fits. It looks like Scott too. They all look like Scott.
They all do. It's the face.
Tinky Winky, while it would be more recognizable, I mean he's the big one that everyone remembers. So wasn't there a big thing that some section of the country freaked out that Tinky Winky was not heterosexual? Was that was a big thing?
Maybe,
one time, wasn't it?
It might have been it too. Yeah.
Our fourth choice is Lala.
Lala. That's right. Lala and Dipsy. Okay.
Or we could just call him the Sun Baby.
Dude,
that is another character.
Jay just jumps in and says, "Now we know why what the two T's stand for." And Scott.
Teletubby.
That's
perfect.
It's perfect.
So we got some names. Maybe
we got to figure out how are we going to refer to him.
We gotta
instead of just Speakerphone Scott. Instead, Speakerphone Scott was great, but
Speakerphone Scott, it was painful.
It hurt. That shit hurt.
That shit hurt. Well, I don't know. Should we make a poll out of it? And
I think we should.
I think it would get a little personal and rude if we would have picture of Scott up with a poll saying what Teletubby does this guy look like? That's just rude. Maybe we just put up a question of what's Scott's nickname, put the pictures of the Teletubbies, and leave them there.
Yeah, leave that.
Whatever
and then as a custom one, and we'll leave a field where people can enter one.
How about this? How about we haven't discussed this?
We should have actually had this conversation with Scott to make sure it was okay to talk about him on the show like this.
We should. Why don't we? You know what? I just so I don't go too far with this.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation with Scott, and maybe we can, to get a little involvement with naming Scott after a Teletubby, we could offer something up because we have some hidden items, some hidden Jigs and Bigs items in the Jigs and Bigs mystery warehouse that doesn't actually exist.
Yep.
But we have some stuff. Maybe let's clear this all with Scott to make sure he's thick-skinned enough
like that idea.
after a fucking Teletubby.
I like that idea.
Yeah, we should, whatever we give out, we should match to Scott.
Yeah, because I think that's a good idea. I'm all about it. So we had this conversation, but the whole primary reason for me meeting Delirious there is like, Delirious is like the genius madman when it comes to everything having to do with building and modifying my trailer and creating something that's just an absolute beast for all these sends. Now, something that I had never really had considered at all was, my first primary focus with the 4Runner was putting a rod pod on there so that way I could store a bunch of rods. So I've been looking all over for an 8-inch diameter, 10-foot piece of PVC pipe so that I could make the large, rod pod. I can put all my rods in one of them. The alternative was to then downsize to 6-inch diameter and do 2 of them. But then the more I started thinking about it, there was another thing that I had been working on over the last week. When I purchased this vehicle, I was talking with the salesman about, like average ownership, like what it is. And like for 4Runners, like their average ownership is like 15 to 18 years. It's a long time. And part of that is you got to be able to maintain the thing. And it's like living in New England, especially, we got all the salt and all the crap from the winter. You got to clean the undercarriage really well. So he even had recommended, he was like, if I were you, he goes, I would look into one of these monthly subscriptions for a car wash and run that sucker through, every couple of weeks. Go ahead and clean it up. I see you laughing. That's so funny.
I know. I want to reiterate, put your hand on the drum roll. Get ready. I just want to reiterate that You are, in fact, a man looking for a 6 to 8 inch pipe. And on the side, you want your the side, you want your undercarriage clean.
I want my undercarriage clean. It was a twofer. It was a double punchline. It was a twofer.
I am 5 years old.
So
I watch the Teletubbies. I watch Scott.
Tim's not gonna text us calling us out on a missed opportunity for a joke this episode. That's for sure.
No.
So no. But so one of the things that I was thinking was, if I build this rod pod, is it gonna be that easy to keep the salt and crap off the undercarriage, running it through a car wash, or am I gonna have to take this thing off all the time? And let's be honest, I am vertically challenged. You know what I mean? Yeah. So taking the thing down and throw it inside just to run in is probably not that likely. So I was talking with Delirious, and he's like, no, you're absolutely right. You got to be able to keep this clean. He's like, putting a rod pod on there, you're probably not going to be able to run it through. You're going to have to take it off. And I'm like, okay. So he goes, well, he's like, if you got a power washer, there's an add-on that you can get that'll work great. It's almost like a jack. It's got a long lever or long handle, and you basically just push right underneath the car, and it basically takes all that pressured water and just fires it up under. Think of it as like a bidet for your vehicle is what it is.
Car bidet. I was going to make that bidet joke. You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's what it was. It basically just gives you a little whoosh, right up the chute. And he says to me, he's like, but I know me. I know, number one, I'm probably not going to go buy a power washer just for this. And even if I do, I'm probably not going to take the time to do this as often as I should. You know what I mean? So I've changed the plan. The rod pod idea is now off the table. Now what we're doing is we're going to do an actual interior rod storage system is what we're going to do. Keep things inside, because when I've got the kayak with me in tow, I can stow a lot of stuff right on that boat. I mean, it's huge. That's not a problem. So it really becomes about when I'm bank fishing, when I'm going elsewhere and I've got to take some stuff with me. So I went back and I researched a lot of things about rod storage, and I found a plan. I'm actually going to use a couple of those. Have you ever seen these expandable bars for hanging laundry in your vehicle like that? So I'm going to get 2 of those. And I found something that's pretty cool. And if they work out really well, I'm actually going to put these on the gift-giving registration. It's basically, so when I DJ, I wish I had one with me. When I DJ, anytime I do an event of any kind, I like to keep my cables nice and neat along speaker stands and all that stuff. And I use these little Velcro loops. Basically is what I use. They've got a plastic ring on there. Well, I found one that is made for fishing rods.
Oh, good.
And it's basically 2 different Velcros. So one of them you Velcro right to the top. The other side is then switched perpendicularly so it can go around and just strap and hold tension on the butt of the rod. Keeps tension on your butt. You got to have a good tense butt.
Got to use that strap on to keep the butt tension.
Yeah, if you're not using a good strap on with, for the butt tension, what do you got there? You got sloppy hot dogs. No good fingers.
I just want to we're going to call attention to the situation here. We're 30 minutes into this podcast that's about fishing. We've covered Tex Avery violence. We've covered the Teletubbies.
Yes.
And the amount of sexual innuendo that's happened in the past 5 minutes is shocking.
Mm-hmm. I hope we're delivering. I hope all of you guys enjoy this shit.
Carry on. Carry on.
We move forward, and we discuss that. So in my mind, I'm like, all right. So change of plans. We're going to change up some stuff. That's the big focus right here. So I've got some parts that I'm waiting. That should show up this week. I also ordered some of the tungsten EWG Neds because they've been performing.
They're my favorite.
They've been performing very well, since early August. I've had one tied on one of my spinning combos at all times. I've been playing around with some of the baits, picked up some stuff at OGO, obviously, and then then D and I had gone and we had hit up the old Devil's Swamp. You may know, may have remembered Devil's Swamp from the first location that Bobby Roast Beef took a swim in with his kayak the first time. Actually, no, I guess I never dumped the kayak the second time. I just kind of did a turtle shell roll.
That was a turtling. You've had some adventures.
Yeah, there. I have. I've had that ascent, and I have had a lot of adventures. It's going to be hard to give that away. Remember this.
Yep.
We're giving that away.
Yep.
Just saying. It is not. We're not ready yet. And there's a whole lot that's got to go into it. That's some of the stuff that also Delirious and I had spoken about as well. Doing some cool shit. You know, having some good stuff. Billy jumps in. He says EWG Neds are hard to find locally. Yes, they are. I have to order them.
And Massachusetts legal ones are even harder to find.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. Like you can find. Yeah.
Remember that.
Getting lead-free ones is even tougher. I did pick up, while I was at OGO, I picked up some drop shot gear for my boy Paul. He needs some weights and some hooks. So I got him some bog hog weights, you know. Nice light drop shot stuff, you know. And, you know, yeah, good stuff. Good shit. So it was a fun time.
What's a drop shot?
What's it exactly? What is it? What the fuck is it even a drop? I've heard Joe Brown likes to use them.
Who the fuck is Joe Brown, and what is a drop? What the fuck is a drop shot?
Oh my goodness. So I would recommend everybody, get ready because next year, Bobby Roast Beef is going on an adventure. It's going to be a good one. Yeah. There's like a whole plan in mind. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. We're going to love it. It involves truck camping. It involves lots and lots and lots of kayak fishing. Multiple days during the week. Like, this is going to be unbelievable. So 2022 is going to be a monster. And then Saturday night, I went out with Queen Beef. The wife and I went out for dinner and a movie, and so we went out to a spot we like locally called B Napoli, and we dined on. They had an ossobuco special with the veal shank and risotto. Oh my goodness, like lovely. There's no other words. You know, wonderful, I think, would be about where it was. I had some type of a rum cocktail with local maple and burnt cinnamon that was to die for. It was awesome.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we went. We did it up nice, and then we went to go see a movie. We went to go see Dune. Yeah. It was Dune. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a cult following for that film.
There is.
You know what I mean?
There is,
I've never been it. But I'm like, I always like to see like some sort of a interpretation. It was good, but it was part one and it kind of left on a cliffhanger, you know? We saw it in XD, so it was loud as shit. It was fun stuff. Good stuff. Tell me about your week, Sean.
I have a lot to tell, my friend.
You do.
There was some peaks. There was some valleys. There was an incident on the lake, which I'm going to briefly touch on. Some of you may have seen a mushroom cloud erupt from central Massachusetts on Saturday about 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll get into it.
Okay.
What we did was I had the Massachusetts Kayak Bassing first ever inaugural championship between all qualifiers from the Western, which I direct, and the Eastern, which Ken directs. And I should make note that Ken directs the whole thing. I direct under him. But he lets me rule my little kingdom out here, which is great. So the
like
qualifiers,
really Duke.
Yes, there was 39 folks invited to the tournament or qualified for the tournament. 37 made it. So we had 37 people on the water.
37?
37
in a row?
Counting me, 38.
Wow.
Well, counting one person that was not involved in the tournament but was fishing the other event going on, 38.
Oh, okay.
Man, we're old. So I'm trying to think. Let me look at my scorecard here. Monday. What did I do Monday? That was a week ago. We covered that I did a little pre-fishing. So I got out. I did a little pre-fishing last week, which I think we talked about on the show last week. Is that correct?
Yeah, a little bit.
And I caught a couple fish, checked out a couple areas. Thankfully, I did not catch anything big pre-fishing because anytime I do well pre-fishing, I feel I feel like I've automatically left one fish on the table because that fish ain't coming back. And that happened during one of the MAKB tournaments this year. The second time I went back, because this lake is so immense, I actually had a couple spots I had picked out. And then I said, I'm going to expand my scope and do a little bit of an extended lap, all right, around. And I was looking for something in particular, which I'll get into on just the tip. Mm-hmm. There was a piece of structure, a type of structure / cover I was looking for. And I marked 5 of them. And I said, which one do I think is going to get me the fish on Saturday? And that was Wednesday, but I did throw some lures around. And this is very important. As I've said like 100 times on this show.
Yep.
When I go out pre-fishing or when I go out fishing, I'm thinking of the characteristics of each lure that I'm throwing. Okay. And I'm also paying attention to the environment so that I can narrow down with the few selections that I'm going to offer what the fish are telling me to hit. They're telling me what to hit, and I'm just eliminating characteristics of lures as they hit.
Yeah.
So the day I pre-fished a part of the lake that I was not fishing, which was last week on the 24th, or on the 17th, excuse me. Today's the 24th. Was it 17th? I'm fucking up the dates now. Yes, it was the 17th. So I went out, fished the 17th. I believe that was Sunday, correct? That was a week ago.
Yeah.
We, Nelson had a great day.
Yep.
He was out there with me, and wasn't a big deal because he was fishing that side of the lake, and that lake's big enough that both halves of the lake generally behave a little differently. There's some different things going on. So we were out there together. Gravy fishing was actually, Eric Graves was out there with us. I think I mentioned that. We were all different parts, and Nelson did really well. So that was a couple times he went out and pre-fished and did really well. Let's keep that in mind for later.
Yeah.
So I went out. I didn't do as well as him, but I got a couple fish, and I was basically catching stuff on finesse. I for the most part, I caught a couple fish on chatterbaits, and I cut it right off immediately because they hit one after the other. And I said, okay, I might have something for Saturday on the chatterbaits. And then I went to Finesse Plastics, rigged a couple of different ways. One Ned rig, one a different way. And no, it wasn't a drop shot. It's not anybody's business the way I rigged this thing. And I got a couple more fish. And I said, okay, I got a place to start. Then I went pre-fishing by myself on like Wednesday or Tuesday or some shit. And that was when I did my lap around the area I was fishing and found places. And I didn't get any hits on any moving lures. And I said, oh shit. But I did get a hit on a Ned rig, and I remembered what I got that hit on. And it was just a Ned rig worm, a little stick worm, 3-inch stick worm, but it was a particular color. And I said, well, that was weird. I wasn't expecting that. I was kind of fooling around with colors, and that's what pre-fishing is for.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe change one variable, go to a color you might not have used someplace and see what happens. So when Saturday rolled around, Saturday really started with Friday. Friday was a very busy day for me. I capped my day by going to a retirement party for a former coworker, and it was fun, but I stayed a little too long. I was enjoying bullshitting with people. You imagine that? I was enjoying talking.
I can't imagine that at all.
Nah, it's fucking a reach.
So unlike.
So, I know. I was out of my mind, and I got home late. I got home about 10 o'clock, and I slept for 3 hours. Got up at 1, packed the rest of my truck. It's about an hour ride to where we were in Central Mass. And let me look something up real quick. So I took the ride out there. I got there at 3 in the morning because the southern parking lot only has, or the southern launch only has 12 parking spots. So it was tight. You had to get there early. And for people that fish that are listening to this, that fish a lot of big tournaments, you'll know that if you've got a launch with limited parking, let's say at a bigger event, and it's an open, you can go wherever you want as long as you're fishing a public launch, you got to get there early. Some people will sleep there overnight. So I get there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I pull in the parking lot, and there's already a truck there. And who do I pull up next to? Driven an extra hour past me because he was coming all the way from the Shears. Jerry Multi-House.
Oh, very nice.
There. And I said, Jerry, you beat me, but we got spots. He said, yes, sir. I said, I'm going to sleep. And I passed out for 2 hours. Nice. Done. Just in my truck, passed out. I then woke up, and the parking lot was in the process of filling. People were dropping their boats in the water, coming back to the parking lot because it was whatever, 5:30, I think, when I got up. It wasn't light. It's getting light out about 7:45 to 8 o'clock in the morning nowadays here. And I brought my portable grill and I made everybody egg wraps because I'm a director and that's what I do. People are showing up to our tournaments. I'm going to cook them breakfast. How fucking nice is that? Am I the nicest guy ever?
That's pretty awesome, man. Really.
My understanding is John Ferreira, another director, did the same thing at the North launch.
Yep. Oh, so that's cool.
We hooked people up with food. Yeah, we rolled out pretty good. So we did that. I'm going to make a note here. And he didn't know about this. We actually had a discussion about sensitivities to certain foods, allergies, et cetera. And one of the qualifying competitors, the gentleman who won the last MAKB West event, the Lake Garfield, is Scott Rhodes. And Scott and I talked quite a bit this morning. I got to know him a little bit. You know, a lot of the times with tournaments, we don't get to talk a lot, especially as a director. You're running around making making sure shit is straight.
Yeah, you're putting out fires and shit, you know?
Yeah, so here's what I discovered. I brought my little new coffee maker, and I just wanted to have my coffee because of my food bullshit. I have to be really careful about making stuff for myself. So I brought my coffee maker, and I have a DC-AC converter for my truck. And thank you, Billy. Billy just says, I'm a top-notch fella. And let's change his mind on that. You spelled notch wrong. No K. So I'm sorry, Billy. Thank you. That was a nice compliment. I'm a dick for saying that. But my coffee maker and the converter would not work. And I ran it by somebody. I think it was Scott. And he's like, yeah. Or it was Jerry. He said, it's got a heating element in it, right? And I said, yes, it does. He said,
too much draw.
Yeah, those tend to draw too much power. They don't work well with the converters. I said, fuck. Scott was sitting right next to me. He'd already dropped his boat in the water. I said, Scott, could you do me a solid? And if there's a Dunkin' nearby and you're going, could you get me a coffee? And I'll hold your spot and we're all good. And he said, no problem.
Nice.
Let's hold on that. Scott came back, had my coffee. We all sat around bullshitting until it was time to launch. There were 12 of us at the launch. Among them, Ken was at the launch, Ken Wood. Jerry Multihouse, as I mentioned, Jerry Andrews, Scott Rhodes, Steve Hedges, which I actually apologized to Steve when we got in later because it was like 7 a.m. I had little sleep. I've only met Steve once or twice.
Yep.
And he was all bundled up like a fucking snowman. And he came up to me and said, hey, Sean, good luck. And I'm looking at him going, who the fuck is this guy? And I go, good luck, man. And then afterwards, I came back and I realized, I'm like, fuck, that was Steve Hedges. And I was like, Steve, I am so sorry. I didn't recognize you. You were wearing all that gear. He's like, no problem, man. He goes, I saw it in your eyes and I rolled with it.
He looked like Kenny from South Park.
He did. Fuck, you're right. It was just glasses. Okay. So, who else was at that? Gerard Elias. I pulled Gerard aside very loudly and said, Gerard, I might be going to Cape Cod next weekend. Are you ready to retrieve my clothing from anywhere I leave it?
Perfect.
Which, for those of us who remember, you guys were listening, Gerard saved my pants. You guys go into the back episodes and listen to that shit, but Gerard's a great guy.
Yep.
Who else was there? I don't know. And the last person to join us. Valber Santos and Greg. And God, I'm going to forget his name. I'm going to say Greg. Greg from Rhode Island, because I'll fuck his last name up. Apologies, Greg. Begins with a W. If I say your name wrong again, I'm going to be upset with myself. Greg and Valber and I were finishing up the knockout matchup. The knockout matchup, the championship, only went 8-1. Okay?
Gotcha.
The tournament itself, the championship tournament, went 8-4. Very important for the point of this story. 8 o'clock, we launch. 8:30, we start, 7:45 early launch. We get 15 minutes to get out there and get to your spot.
Yep.
I had a choice of 2 spots, and I stared at one, and I went past it to get to the second spot because I felt the second spot I could do better at. And there was some structure involved again. We'll get to just a tip. I'll go over that.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the second spot. At 8:30, I hooked into a 12.5-inch largemouth. Good for me, right?
Yep.
So it didn't do much for the tournament because I believe by 8:30 or 8:45, John Ferreira had already gone over 60 inches. And I should make one last mention. The thing that I was dreading on this tournament, I had the bad pre-fishing day, but we got hit with a cold front that, that the effects of which we saw because a wall of clouds just moved right over our heads and it was beautiful, clear bluebird skies with a wind. At exactly 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh shit, we're dead. I had predicted to Nelson before this, after seeing the fish we were catching, I said, I think 80 is going to win it. If not 80, I think I might have said 85. Might have been 85 is going to win it. And I said, I think it's 60 to qualify, like to be close to placing, like 60 to compete. Another thing to keep for later as we go through with this story. So I've got my fish on the board. I'm very happy with myself. And then I get stomach pain that feels like I'm being stabbed.
Yes.
And I know what that means. It means I need to be at a latrine, restroom, the head, whatever you'd like to call it, very, very quickly. And obviously I could not pollute someone's backyard because I didn't want to get arrested. So with all this pain and this oncoming shitstorm, I pedaled over probably somewhere between a half and a quarter mile to an uninhabited island. What happened from that point can only be described as the nuclear tests in the Pacific Atoll in the late 1940s, early 1950s, or whenever they were, when you just see a mushroom cloud and then there's no more island. That's what I did. It sucks to be me.
It sucks to be that island.
Yeah. Well, look, on that island, all right, that island bore a lot of scars from what looked to be teenage underage partying, because I saw a lot of empty wine cooler, Mike's lemonade bottles, and Zimas. There was some 17-year-olds hiding in the bushes drinking. They're going to have a horrible surprise the next time they go to that fucking island. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I could not help it. It was nature didn't call. Nature slapped me in the face 3 times because it liked me.
There's a Kevin Malone from The Office joke there, and I don't want to say it.
That's surprisingly accurate of a visual description.
Yes,
if everybody knows what
I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's pretty much what happened.
Oh God.
Yep. Yeah. This is my life. So that's 9 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, there's been a lot of things that have happened. So we got 12 hours of pain here. So I get back on the water. And by the way, this I'm just going to be a little self-deprecating here. This is going to be really funny. This has been, these things can happen. I have to prepare for these things in my life. I have found that going to the store, going to CVS and getting fucking, baby wipes or whatever fucking wipes you choose.
Yeah.
If you're in a pinch out in the woods and you need to do that, some of them are biodegradable now. What were the ones you were talking about? Man wipes,
The dude wipes.
Dude wipes.
Yeah.
Are those biodegradable?
I'm not sure. I want to say that they are.
Yeah. So
but the wrappers are not.
Yeah, do your thing, fire it on top of it, throw a couple leaves on there, tasty snack for a passerby deer. You're good. It's all good. Nature's happy, right? So I made a mistake the last time. Or no, I didn't make a mistake. I went to CVS. I needed these wipes one day. I was out on the road.
Yep.
Of course, just my luck. They only have the ones for women in the purple package. So guess what I carry around with me? Dude, I got to do what I got to do, and I'm proud of it. So there we go.
You.
People learning a lot about me this show.
Yeah, they do.
So here we are. It's 9 o'clock. I'm getting buried in the main tournament, and I've destroyed an island with a biohazard fucking spill that will last for a century. And I've got a 12-incher on the board that is leading a high money. Yeah, Please tell her what Lauren just commented on.
So Lauren says, she goes, as long as you had your tree bark. Which, were there any birch trees nearby?
Just to let you know.
Yeah.
Billy. I've been having a laugh about that with a few people now, with everybody who listens to this show across X amount of countries. I got asked, I don't know, 5 times, were there any birch trees on the island? I said, yes, I covered them.
They were birch.
I couldn't wipe with them. They were
now they're ash.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they were. So, it's 9 o'clock. Here I am sitting in first place for the knockout with a 12.5-inch fish, which, let me tell you, was a really uncomfortable place to be sitting in.
Yeah.
And I didn't get any bass for hours. And I went spot to spot. I did what I was doing. I stayed. I didn't see any surface activity or anything even shallow, except for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nelson had reported that he had gone on a scouting trip / pre-fishing with a visit to that lake with
He did.
And Nelson reported seeing a school of alewives in the general area where I was fishing. And he said, I've never seen so many. Well, I can confirm this. It was like a football field with 12 to 4-inch alewives.
Really?
I mean, I've never seen that many. It was insane. And the only bass
Really?
I found around him took a swipe at one worm, and it was maybe 5 inches long, this little bass. I thought it was an alewife, and it went after one of my plastics. So I continued around the lake with nothing, and I got to the spot that I skipped. I got back to the spot that I skipped. And I hooked into a 15-incher.
Nice.
At 102.
Fuck.
Yes. So the 2 minutes that had passed, had I gone back there earlier, it might have been a different story. But that 2 minutes cost me $700.
Blame it on the lavender wipes.
Yes. Oh, dude, that was awful. Fuck me. I can't wait till like descendants of ours hears this show and they'll be like, wow, what the fuck was wrong with our grandparents? You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. So in the meantime, I think before that, no, actually around that time. So 1 o'clock came and went. I texted back and forth real quick with Greg and Valber. Valber and I both congratulated Greg. I mean, dude, this was a war of attrition for all of us, and good job to Greg. Yeah. Congratulations. He's a champion, man.
Nice job.
The final score was disgusting. Valber did catch a fish. It was 9.5 inches. I stuck on that 12.5, and Greg won with a 13.5.
My God, by an inch.
The payouts were 1,200, 500, 300. That's why I'm saying that 2 minutes. It just, had I been back there a half hour earlier, I might have had a different story.
Yeah.
But it's just that fish. I probably hooked into that fish at like 12:59, 30. You know what I mean? It's just, there's no time to get that fish in, and I caught it on it. I didn't tell you this before I went out. I downsized my line on my finesse gear. I went from 10 to 8.
Oh, okay.
I was running a little bit of an experiment, and it paid off. I felt really good with it, but I did, when I was catching fish, when I was reeling fish in, I loosened the drag up a little more, which is going to give more play, and it takes a little longer to get the fish in. You're not horsing them in.
Yeah.
So I have no regrets. That knockout tournament was the best I've done in it.
Yeah.
It's something to build on. Did I win it? No, I got to the final, and it was honestly a little weird. You know, we had some problems with the scheduling. There was some events, just things happened. And dude, that's an elite thing that happened. Not everybody gets to that final. Not everybody wins it. And I got up there. So
yeah. That's awesome.
I'm happy with the performance, and I got my money back on the tournament. That's all anybody can ever ask for, and a little more, which is good.
Yeah.
So from there, from between 1 o'clock or 1:02 when I got that 15-inch bass to 4 o'clock, that one little corner of the lake that I had skipped and went by and tried to go to that other spot and then hit all my other spots first, I fucking lit up. I lit it up. I went from like 14th or 13th place or something with that 1 12-inch fish. I finished 5th and in the money.
That's awesome, dude. Huge.
One little corner that was, and tell me if this sounds familiar. Like I say these things to on the show. I want people to learn from my experience and mistakes. Well, that's why we're doing this. It's anybody out in the Midwest, anybody out in the Southwest, anybody out in the West. There's some principles that I've learned that apply across the country where I've fished. The wind was blowing in a certain direction, and I went to the place it terminated. Does that sound familiar?
Coffin Corner. And they were lined on the coffin corner. There was one particular spot I did better at than the other coffins. The other side, it was almost like a box. One of the corners held 2 15s and a 16 and an 11. The other corner I got a 12 out of. Yep.
And the other corner I also got a beautiful 16-inch tiger trout. Beautiful. A tiger trout is a cross between a brook and a brown trout, and I also got a brown trout. Now, this is a CPR bass tournament. I didn't keep any bass. My cooler was full of trout, though. Those are mine, dude. My tax dollars paid for those fuckers. I'm eating them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so they're waiting. They're waiting for me. So what happens in these tournaments at the last hour is Ken shuts the standings off. So if you're in contention or whatever's going on, you can make a run and nobody knows, and it's like a big reveal for when we all get together after the tournament, which some people like, some people don't. That's debatable. So when the standings went off, I'm actually going to read you the standings, and this is kind of funny because it to show the difference in an hour. And my guess is, and Nelson and I had a talk after the tournament about some of the things that he looks into when pre-fishing about peak times. There's a million ways you can get peak times from fishing calendars, apps, this, that, the other thing. You never know. And we were talking about that, and he pointed at one of the peak times, and he said, he goes, usually this one I use is within a half hour to an hour off. And he goes, it said the peak time was going to start here. It looks like it started a half hour early. So here's what the standings were. When the scoreboard went off, or right about maybe 3 minutes before the scoreboard went off. Now, prior to this, I was again sitting in like maybe within 15 places, which is fine. I was fishing two things. I had shit going on. I was okay with that and see where I went and just go out and fish. I wasn't too worried about it.
Yeah.
I was going to fall where I fell. That's no big deal. This tournament was stocked. Like, I'll say it again, man. We have some major league names that fish in Massachusetts.
We do.
If you're fishing with them and they qualify for your championship tournament, you're going up against an all-star lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to go on your game, but you got to know the competition's not going to be easy. So John Ferrer was leading all day. 5 minutes left. Joe DiDeo had edged him out by 1 inch and 3/4. So Joe DiDeo was in first with 75. John Ferrer had been bumped to second with 73.5. Scott Rhodes was sitting at 73 and third. I was at fourth with 66 and 3/4, and then Ken Wood was in fifth with 55.75. When all was said and done, Joe stayed in first place. He ended up culling out a couple fish. Ended up with like 77.
Yep.
Ken jumped from fifth to second.
Yeah.
Scott edged up and stayed in third. John had been pushed down to fourth, and I finished fifth. That was all of us in the money.
Nice.
And then the bonus stuff that went on, obviously side pools, etc.
Oh yeah.
We had 1, 2, 3, 4 things on the side. Okay, and this is not counting the knockout. We actually had 5, but we'll get into that 5th one in a second. There was a largemouth lunker pool, which there was a tie on that, and I believe it was Derek Brundle, who took the largest largemouth with an 18.5 over Steve Hedges, who also got an 18.5, but the tiebreaker was put into place and Derek got it.
Yep.
The smallmouth lunker was John Ferrer, who caught an 18 early in the morning, and it stayed.
Nice.
The chain pickerel lunker was split between Ari Stonehill and Nick Ringard. Nick fishes in the West, and Ari I've been fishing off and on with for years since I started really hanging out with MAKB. And Ari's a great guy, and we share a passionate love of the Grateful Dead and all their offshoot shenanigans. And there was a bonus put in, and we didn't talk about this. I kept it quiet. Well, actually, I didn't keep it quiet. We didn't record between then and now.
No.
All right. One of the sponsors for MAKB, as we announced a long time ago, was Old Glory Outdoors. They jumped on, and they're aligned with the organization. And I talked with a guy named Joe. Who the fuck is Joe, you ask?
Yeah.
Joe Brown. And then you pause and re-ask, who the fuck is Joe Brown? I called up Joe, and I said, dude, we have the event. How do we want to do a prize? Joe had said he would supply a prize for the championship. And I said, well, look, there's already lunker prizes for largemouth, smallmouth, and pickerel. What do you want to do? And we talked, and we came up with just simple biggest bass of the tournament, whether it's largemouth or smallmouth, right? And Derek Brundle with that largemouth won it. He got an arc rod, and he got about $200 worth of gear.
Nice.
Joe at Old Glory, thank you very much. A round of applause.
I think now we all know who the fuck Joe Brown is.
Yeah,
Joe Brown is a hero.
Joe Brown is a stand-up fucking guy.
Joe Brown.
So that was very nice. Yeah, so
that was awesome.
He did that and came through big, and that was really nice. Even to the point when Nelson works out in that area by around Old Glory, and he had given me a call and said, I think Joe made a mistake. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, dude, there's enough gear in here for like 5 prizes. And I said, okay. And I called Joe back up. And I said, dude, thanks for the generosity. This is awesome. Is this 1 prize or more? And he goes, well, what do you think? I said, I don't know. It's a championship, all the stakes. And he said, simply, fuck it. It's 1 prize. There you go. So Derek Brundle walked away with that. That was awesome.
Nice.
The fifth thing. So I went through pickerel, smallmouth, largemouth, and then biggest overall bass.
Yep.
The last thing that was at stake, and this is bittersweet. Earlier this week, Ken had made a post on Facebook for our group that Angler of the Year points were still counting for the championship, which some of us didn't really know that. Like we had assumed that with the season end, it was just like any major sports MVP race where your season ends, your MVP gets decided from there, and then any playoff stuff is separate, like playoff MVP, etc. And we just didn't know. And now all of a sudden, this added a wrinkle to my life because while Bruce Levy had kind of ran away with the East, like nobody was touching him unless they had the day of days, because I think we talked about he put up in a single day 102-inch bag. I might be off on the number, but it was over 100 inches.
Yeah, it was big.
It was incredible, and that just sealed the deal for him. The Eastern side, because they have more events, counts. I think it's top 25 fish, and then you call out your top 25, and there's some bonus points awarded for placing.
Sure.
On the Western side, because we only have 7 events, it's based on the weather, because they can get away with more stuff having a warmer climate out east.
That's true.
We go with 7, basically one a month. Basically, there's usually a month we double down, but for the most part, we go with 7 events. I'm happy with that. We're not going to overrun all the major waters out here, and we do our thing. So we count the best 20. Now, while Bruce had run away from both Mike Morcone and Valber after that killer day he had, Nelson was right on my tail. Nelson was up there. One good day from Nelson and one bad, if I didn't, I basically my smallest fish in that top 20 were at 15 inches and his smallest fish were at 14. So he could just get 15s and cull them out. And if he finishes high, those bonus points will add and I'm done.
Yep.
So, and again, he fished the north side of the lake. I fished the south side of the lake. And it was just unfortunate. Nelson had a really, really bad day.
Yeah.
And he didn't call any of his fish out, and I felt for him. That being said, I ended up, because he didn't reach me, I ended up as the AOI for the Western Division, which, considering the competition that we had in our first year, I'm humbled, and I obviously am very sad that my friend didn't have a good day like that, because I told you, and you can verify this.
Oh yeah,
I think after one of the pre-fishing days, I said, I think Nelson.
You said that. I remember that. You were like, he's 100% got a shot at this.
I had only heard of two people, Nelson and one other, that had really good pre-fishing experiences, and I said, he's got this. Like, I'm fucked. And that cold front threw everybody for a loop. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So there was those 3 things. So I pulled second on the knockout. Very happy with that. Slipped into 5th on the championship with the anglers in that fucking event. I don't know how I stay alive in these fucking things.
Yeah, I mean, you're not kidding when you say it's stiff competition. Like, it's crazy, man. Especially like you get down to this where you have that number of boats with that caliber of angler. Like, man, it's freaking it's craziness. Yeah. And everybody's dealing with that same cold front. Everybody's dealing with the shift in conditions, and that's a tough body of water. It gets hammered.
Yeah, and you know what? I just to close the book on this event, and then I want to talk a little bit about the year itself real quick. Not a year in review, but just we're going to talk about a couple things.
Yeah.
But this is some Massachusetts shit.
Yeah, it is.
All right. I love this. I think you know where I'm going with this. We fished, it wasn't a secret. We fished at Lake Webster. Why is it called Lake Webster, you ask? Well, because it's in a Massachusetts town called Webster.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for us folks that live outside of Webster.
Yeah.
The people who live in Webster don't call Lake Webster Lake Webster. They're very proud of the name of their lake because it's an old Algonquin Algonquin Native American name.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to fuck this name up. Ready?
Yeah, you are. Yes.
This name is on the signs around town. This town is so happy that this name exists, and I love it. I think it's cool. This is not a joke, and I'm not mush-mouthing this for the sake of humor, right? Lake Chargog-agog, Manchog-agog, Chob-anungungamog. 43 letters. 43 letters?
Something like that. It's crazy. I've actually
45 letters.
I've actually had that lake name show up in a trivia question that was written from one of our trivia authors in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. And that translation is often said to mean, I'm going to quote Wikipedia here. So like, look, it's Wikipedia. We know what we're getting, but usually with like nerd shit like this, Wikipedia actually is semi fucking reliable, but it's often said to mean fishing place at the boundaries, neutral meeting grounds. More fitting translation is lake divided by islands. So when you look at this lake, if you guys are looking this lake up, yeah, Lake Cowabunga, exactly.
Lake Cowabunga.
Yeah, I've been calling it Lake Chargargothathon, but whatever. That's a cartoon reference, and nobody's gonna fucking get that. But the lake is actually 3 basins that has like islands that are at the entryways to these basins. So I fished the South Basin, Nelson fished the North Basin, and we had an even split. 3 people out of the South finished in the top 5. Actually, 4 people in the top 6 finished in the South, but I think a couple of the guys went into the middle. So the North did well. People did well in the North, but I think they fished deeper. I think there was some deep structured drop shotting going on. But look with those 2 divisions, just to get into that tournament, congratulations to everyone who's involved. And there were anglers of all levels there. Guys that were in their first year that they had a top 5 finish somewhere along the line they got in, or they finished high enough in Angler of the Year points. There were 2.
Yep.
There were 2 qualifications to get in. And like to get into that, I hope that everybody, especially the younger anglers or the newer guys, take something from it. You guys got to that level and you got to play with the big boys. I got to play with the big boys.
Yeah.
Build on it for next year.
Yeah.
If you were one of the few people, or one of the, it wasn't even a few, it was more than a few. If you had a bad day and you didn't catch any fish, right, or you didn't catch any bass,
you still got there.
You got there.
Yeah.
Mark it down. Build on it next year. Remember, okay, maybe we're not fishing that wonderful place. Hopefully the Algonquin tribe comes back and fucking turns it into a parking lot. I can only hope that. But Bruce Levy even put up. Oh, Bruce was with us too at the South Launch. Bruce even put up, hey, had a great day today. Hope this place gets paved. Pretty, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, it was not an easy day of fishing. And plus it was not, it was a highly, highly competitive crowd, a large number of people that had just come back from the national championship.
Oh yeah.
Take solace in the fact that you got to this level. Build on it next year.
Yep.
I'm going to try and build on it next year. You know what I mean? It's never be negative about this. So congratulations to everybody. And I just want to say, like, for everyone who fished with the Western Division, I know a few Eastern guys did too. Thank you to everybody who came out and trusted Nelson and I to basically not fuck up a tournament trail. We hope you had a good time, and we have some surprises in store for next year. Like, we really put a lot of thought into what went well this year. We're going to build on that. And some of the things that we didn't click, we're going to be trying some new things with, and we think everyone's going to be pleasantly surprised. So thank you guys.
That got the big applause.
That's a big one, huh?
I got the big applause.
Now, on to next year. There was an announcement made last year. Jesus Christ. There was an announcement made last year. Our friend John Ferreira has a podcast he runs called The Breakdown.
Yep.
And John had Ken and, was it Adam Rourke on there? It was Ken and Adam, I believe.
I think
right?
it was Adam, yeah.
Yeah, and I know. Yeah, I think Ken was on. I believe I remember watching a split screen. So they announced the EKF schedule for next year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the month, not the dates. I don't really. We can go on the EKF site, or anybody can go visit John's YouTube
to get
channel
the particulars
for the breakdown. Yeah, get the particulars. I'm not going to look that up and waste everybody's time with me fucking looking at shit up besides Lake Chargargothathon. But so the EKF schedule is as follows. There are 5 events counting the championship. In May, now elite kayak fishing, I should say that for anybody who's listening for the first time. Elite kayak fishing is a regional Northeast, mostly New England, but it does spill out into a couple states that aren't so New Englandy but are close by. So if you're in the Northeast and you want to fish I mean, really the highest level of regional tournament, please come join us with these events. This is just like the championship we just finished.
It's exactly like the championship. That level of competition.
I'm just gonna quote Dusty Rhodes. You remember the wrestler Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream? Yeah. Do you remember that at the end of his career, WCW let him behind the mic and he had a lisp? He was the American Dream and most popular man in wrestling for years, but he did have a lisp, and I don't really understand how it rolled with the microphone. But Dusty was on the Saturday night program on TBS, and one of his catchphrases was, "Welcome to WCW, where the big boys play." And if that is not EKF, I don't know what is, because that is where the big boys and big girls play, baby. There's my Dusty Rhodes. So,
oh shit.
The best part, just going on the Dusty Rhodes tangent before I get to the EKF shit. Dusty Rhodes used to make words up, and there was a website dedicated to Dustyisms. So he said,
I've heard of this.
You had cat-like reflexes, like a small wrestler like Rey Mysterio, who was very quick. He'd be like, "That Rey Mysterio, his reflexes are Cadillac." It was great. Go ahead and get on YouTube and try to watch any WCW match with Dusty Rhodes commentating and just enjoy it from the late 90s. All right, so EKF, that was ridiculous. Elite Kayak Fishing, regional tournament trail, 5 stops, 1 a month between, May, June, July, August, and September. Championships in September.
Yep.
The May one, to kick the season off. People are going to like hearing this. If you're willing to drive out here, if you're out of New England, it's up in Maine. You say, "Oh, Maine's so far. I don't want to stay 1 or 2 nights and fucking fish one night." The Saturday is the EKF event. Double down, because there's another event going on there too at Lake Messalonsky for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. KBF will be there. So EKF and KBF are running hand-in-hand events up at Lake Messalonsky in May in Maine. Come join us.
That'll be a fun time.
I'll be there. Clothes are optional, but I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one.
That might be a good time to test out the truck camping.
True story.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Second trail stop in June is Lake Oneida or Oneida Lake. I actually saw there was an online conversation on whether it's Lake Oneida or Oneida Lake. I don't know. I'm not from New York. I apologize. I'm from Massachusetts. It's another reason to hate me, New Yorkers. I'm fine.
Exactly.
Lake whatever or whatever lake. I don't give a shit. We know where we're going. So that's a good, I believe that's a big smallmouth fishery. Am I correct on that?
I think so.
Yep. So that's in June. July. This is where things get a little fun. July, Western Mass and the Pioneer Valley.
Yep.
We're hosting that shit. I had thrown the idea by Ken because I'm not involved in EKF, and I said, "Hey, there's a big body of water we could fish out here." And honestly, it's purely self-serving, so I don't have to fucking drive anywhere. But you know what? There's only so few bodies of water in Massachusetts that are large enough to host one of these tournaments. And Ken said, "Yeah, I think it's a good idea." And someone had already mentioned it. You're not the first person. I said, "Oh, good."
That's awesome.
Connecticut River, border to border in Massachusetts, from the Vermont line to the Connecticut line, public launch 1 day in July. That's our hometown, Bobby. We gotta pull our socks up. I mean, this might be the day you come and play with the big boys.
Possibly.
You ready to come out and play with the big boys, Bobby roast beef? Let me tell you something.
Oh, Jesus.
You're gonna be watching Dusty Rhodes matches all night now.
I am.
Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see. There we go. Derek is chipping in. We got sturgeon.
And Lake Sturgeon.
Oh, good. I can Ned rig a sturgeon. Then they'll be leaving voice messages after our intimate time together. Well,
it's true.
4th on the list. And actually, this is kind of funny because, just trying to help out with the fishing scene in general, and with Ken being a director and him having his ears open for input. He had asked for some information, like, "Hey, okay, if we do this Connecticut River thing, what do you guys got out there? What do you got for lodging? And what do you want, what do you think would be a good headquarters?" And I'm very grateful that Ken trusts me enough for my opinion, which is awesome. So thank you, Ken. And I said, well, there's a place that has a couple hotels. It's probably near the biggest launch. The issue is, and we thought about it, is the area that would be in is centralized, and it's got major universities and colleges right there. We call it the 5 college area around here. And there's 2 times you don't go anywhere near the 5 college area if you don't have business there that is really life-threatening.
Yeah, graduation and move-in week.
Yes, you don't go near it like the last 2 weeks of August because everyone's moving into it. This is a great example, and this is where we're going to connect right now with our Midwestern and Southern listeners. Think of all your big universities around the country. I'm just going to throw a couple out there. University of Michigan.
Yep.
University of Alabama. I don't want to get the Clemson folks upset. Clemson.
Sure.
All of these, University of Miami.
Yeah.
I can go on and on.
Yeah.
UCLA, USC. All these major colleges, if they're located in a small town, usually the size of that town doubles during school, if not triples. And the same is said for UMass Amherst, which is a quarter mile away from where I recommended there be a headquarters because of the hotels and lodging.
Exactly.
So we had to talk about that, and that one ended up going from the August end where, shit, man, that would have been bad for move-in to July. So August has been... They swapped with Lake Sunapee up in New Hampshire.
Oh, Lake Sunapee. No kidding.
Never been there. No fucking idea. Going to be a good time.
I've fished there.
Yeah.
When I was like 8 years old. I think I fished there. I was a kid.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Now, here's the final.
Yeah.
This is good. We're going to have our second trip out, Bobby, because you're coming because it's your birthday weekend.
Oh, yeah.
To Lake Champlain.
Oh, yes.
Now, the difference with this past year when we went out there.
Exactly.
And this coming year, was the EKF championship for this year was held only on one day in the northern half of the lake. There was a boundary.
Yeah.
Next year, to switch things up, it's a 2-day event all on the south side.
Oh, it's all on the south side.
It's almost like 2 different lakes. Yeah.
No kidding.
So I'm excited about that. And I can give the date on that because that was easy to remember. That was, I believe, 9/11, 9/12. So there's EKF. If you guys are in the Northeast or you're interested in traveling out here for any of those 5 dates, the championship you do have to qualify for. So there's 2 ways to qualify. I believe it's Angler of the Year points.
Yep.
Or what is it? Top 10 placing, I think it is. This is where I don't want to reach, but there's a certain placing you have to do within the other 4 tournaments. I believe it's top 10.
Yep.
Will automatically qualify you. So come join us. I'll be fucking around with some EKF. It'll be a good time. This is great.
It'll be good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Lauren jumps in. She says, Lauren, Bobby, and Sarah doing the birthday peekles.
There will be peekles.
As long as there's going to be peekles involved, I'm definitely in.
Yep. So we're gonna double down on this. This is
It'll be fun.
Yeah. This is. I'm really looking forward to next year. So on top of the MAKB Western events, and on top of the trifecta, which I'm going to do again for 3 bells.
Yep.
I am so fucking psyched for EKF. This is like, man, this is exciting. This is a buddy of mine from Maine. My buddy Brandon, he was one of my airmen on base, and I'm glad that we kept in touch after we both got out of service. One of his favorite things to say is, what a time to be alive.
Oh, yeah.
He could not be more right when I talk about the tournaments for 2022. What a time to be alive.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Freaking bananas, man. 2022 is shaping up to be pretty good stuff.
Yes.
That's all I got to say about that. That is all I got to say about that stuff.
Just to put a cap on 2021, we got one little fun event. All the trails are done. We got one little fun event next weekend. That will be the MAKB Catch 'em All Fall Brawl, which means any fish over a certain length. I forget if it's 8 or 12 for these. I think it got changed to 12 because too many submissions. So, like, the judges were getting overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Next week, Saturday, 6 days from now. Did you look at the weather for the week?
Oh, it's going to be a shit show all week long, man.
Downpour on Saturday with 15 to 25 mile an hour winds.
I mean, by Saturday, it is possible that could change, but it's also possible that it won't.
It's looking pretty fucked up. This is going to be great. I'm going to freeze.
That is very, very rough.
Yeah. That's all I got.
One thing I do want to throw out there was that this week we got a little care package sent to us from Rhode Island. And no, before you go out throwing some guesses, it wasn't a lifetime supply of Autocrat coffee syrup. No, it was in fact a sampling of wire baits from Klondike Custom Creations. Matt Thayer, you guys may remember Matt. I had him on over the winter. I think he was on in the beef seat. We had a great conversation. He has been making lots of baits. He makes, buzz baits, spinner baits, chatter baits. Also does a lot of topwater baits too. Like he makes like some jitterbug style baits, some walking baits, all kinds of different stuff. And he had dropped me a message saying that I should keep an eye out for a little care package, and holy crap, he delivered. I threw one of the buzz baits this week a couple of times. Like I said, I got out for very short trips here and there, so nothing crazy fruitful. I threw one of those spinner baits, though, that he's got with a hammered copper blade, and I mean, this thing is just there are no descriptive words at the level that can actually put these things out there. I'm really looking forward to hooking something on here so I can get great pictures and show you exactly that bait that is getting it done. So very, very cool stuff. Thank you so much, Matt, for all of that. And Sean, I know you're huge into chatterbaits, and they're definitely part of your staple. I am saving all of them for you to go through and figure out what you like, and take your pick, obviously. But I gotta tell you, man, like I have the buzzbait that I've been throwing is it's a 1/2 ounce black and blue buzzbait, but the blade on it has 4 sides, and it just like. I can crawl it so slow. It is awesome. Unbelievable. I know it's going to get blown up on. It's just a matter of time, But yeah, so thank you, Matt. We appreciate it. Awesome stuff. If you guys haven't checked out Klondike Custom Creations, check them out on Instagram because there's lots of pictures of these baits that are in there. You can also look on our Instagram. I took a picture of all of them grouped together, what he had sent out. And I mean, like, just really, really great stuff. Super sharp hooks, like nice hand-tied skirts, like really, really great looking color combinations, like really, really fantastic stuff. One of these chatterbaits is like a Magnum chatterbait, and it's got a huge blade. I've never seen a blade.
That's the one I asked you for. I want it.
Yeah. I think you're gonna like this. It's a big freaking bait, but good stuff, man. Oh, hold on. This just in. We got Derek chiming in here. Says got a full cure box of lures under the lights right now for our bet, Bobby. You should have them all by the end of the week. Beautiful. We have a giveaway going on with a bunch of those. Definitely, that's happening. You guys are not going to want to miss out.
And speaking of giveaways, Robert
yes. So by the time you guys hear this, hopefully this post will be out. But this week I'm going to be putting a post out on the Bobby Roast Beef Instagram because at the time of recording this right now, I have exceeded my goal of breaking 2,000 followers to the tune right now at Sunday, the 24th of October at 9:32 p.m. I am at 2019. So we are doing a giveaway there. That is happening next week. I'll put the post up, get everybody entered, but it's gonna be awesome. Basically, the gist is going to be a lot like the giveaways we've had, where we're going to list the partner accounts that we're working with on these. You got to be following all of them in order to win. And I'm obviously going to tell people to tag their friends and get them to enter and all of that stuff. And we'll pick a random comment from that thread. All you got to do is just jump on there with tag a friend, and you're good to go. So yeah, giveaway number 1 is happening. We're getting closer and closer and closer on the Jigs and Bigs account to hitting 13K. That'll be coming in the next few weeks. So buckle up, guys. It's going to be crazy. And once we hit 13K, then it's only 2,000 more before we hit a 5K mark. That's a beast.
Yeah,
man,
Bobby, just so everyone knows, the accounts you have to follow, all right, are
don't even worry about it because they're all going to be listed in the post.
Oh, okay.
Any like one cell living creature would be able to figure this out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I tell them what
you can.
The winner of this giveaway that the marker just hit.
Sure.
We'll be receiving.
Yeah.
So
and keep in mind, it may even be more than this because I'm going to be throwing stuff in there too.
Perfect. So this is what you're getting at a minimum from all the collaborators involved, whoever wins this giveaway. And this is for the Bobby Roast Beef account at every 1K that he hits. Be getting a Stretching Lines baseball cap and a bag of baits, a Hook Set Hoodlums tee, an Old Glory 4-pack of a 4-pack of Timber Yard craft beer supplied by Old Glory. They're a collaborator of Old Glory's, but they're going through them. So thank you guys.
Nice.
A bag of Three Bells coffee and a travel mug, and a power bank and a USB snake light from Naqua.
That is amazing.
Home run, dude.
Yeah.
That
is a
great.
home run right there. It's going to be awesome. So, yeah, get ready. That's coming. You guys can go ahead and enter. It'll be a lot of fun. Amazing that all that stuff's gone on. Again, so, okay, good. We mentioned Matt. The one thing I do want to also make sure that we mention before anything else, before we go to break here and get into our Just the Tip, we're going to be talking about cold water and weed beds. What's the relationship there? And we want to talk, obviously, about the fishing report. Cheryl's doing an awesome job with the fishing report. We're in this weird, we are now transitioning into that fall transition here in Western Massachusetts. It's happening, especially like the cold front that we just had. This whole week is going to be a huge dip for really low temperatures at night. Plus, we've got a week full of rain coming. Those water temperatures are going to start to drop. You know,
it's gonna be tough to see 60 even at the big bodies of water now.
Yeah.
It's just
there's going to be an impact here. There have been some bodies of water I've been at where I've seen that. It doesn't like I say, I fish a lot of clear bodies of water most of the time, even if it's like the visibility isn't necessarily amazing or the color of the water is a little bit funky. Maybe it's a little tannic. Like it's still relatively clear. Like the visibility is okay. And I've seen a lot of spots where I've been fishing where there's this odd kind of like it's just murky. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look right. And it makes me, that right there is, they say, is one of those things that you can be looking for where that fall transition is starting to happen, that turnover is starting to happen. So
Nelson mentioned that some of the nutrients from the bottom where all that cold water is starts getting circulated around. He goes, that's another thing to look for. And he's seen it a couple places. I don't know if I'd be willing to commit to that to Lake Chargargathathon, but you know, it's around. You saw it at the lakes you were telling me. I believe it. I would not doubt it that it's happening. I mean, like I said, the highest temperature I saw in the last week was 61. It's coming. Yeah, if it's not here already. It's
definitely coming. Like I know a lot of people have been talking about, fall transition fishing. It's like, no, this that we're starting to get into now. Now you'll see it in the coming like 2 weeks. It's really going to really change, you know,
especially with this at least 3 days of rain we're supposed to get.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a good amount of rain, so we got that going on. You know the fishing report.
The fishing report. I feel so bad. I boned Cheryl on this report so bad this week because I didn't have a chance to fish. And the one time I went out, I was scouting, and my report was simply, "Sorry, I got skunked this week. I suck." So if you guys don't see anything from me,
you know why?
I didn't get a chance to read it even yet. I actually am backed up on my fishing report reading. So, my bad.
No, it's all good. And then, you know, to put a bow on it all, of course, that Spotify playlist is available, which I've taken to listening to the first one. It's like a good 5 hours worth of music, and I always get a good laugh every once in a while. There's a song that'll pop up, and I'm like, that's right, so-and-so suggested I put this on the playlist. Or, oh, that's right, that's on here because it's somehow wordplay on, like, testicles or balls. And, you know, it kind of tied in with boats and scrotes. Like, so I've been having some fun with that. We're going to take a short break, though. When we come back, we got a couple of really, really good things for you. First and foremost, we have, like I said, we've got that Just the Tip segment coming with the relationship of cold water and weed beds and what that means for you. We also have an amazing FTG, and we'll fill in the details on that because that just rolled in this morning. That just came in today. So this is like truly hot off the press. We got that, and then in segment 3, we got the one and only Ryan Bogli, the Butcher.
Butcher.
Yeah, he and I, we get into it. We have a good conversation. He's got a lot of a lot of stuff happening in the next, really in 2022, just in general. Like, he has a ton of stuff going on. So we'll find out what's up with him. Guys, don't go too far. We have much more show coming up right after this quick break. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and BIGS and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and BIGS. Save some money and gear up now.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
Fucking, before I start with the tip I have this weekend.
Yes.
When I went to that retirement party, I haven't talked to some of these people in years and like, what are you doing now? And after the first time, I tried to describe the entire Howie saga of what's gone on this far.
Oh yeah. It's a tough discussion to have.
Well, you have to read the room who's going to laugh. And like there was one person just staring through me and I'm like, and then we have a segment called Just the Tip where Howie talks about our dicks with porn music in the background.
Yes, he does.
All right. I'm going to go get another drink, Sean. Nice talking to you.
But you know what's interesting? The one thing I do have to say about this segment is that there are a lot of people that really, really not only just appreciate the segment for the value that it can deliver, but I love the fact that if somebody does a search to try to find a specific topic or something and they come across a title of a show and they're just like, oh, they talk about this, great, they get to it, they have to hear a dick joke before. Like it's just, but it's like it's perfect. It's perfect because it's only really filthy if your mind is already in the gutter. You know what I mean? Like it's your own fault. It is just this is the tip corner.
That's not porn music. It's the tip corner. That's not porn music. That's funk.
That's funk.
He's not talking about sex. He's just British.
He is. He can't help. Oh.
British Scooby-Doo.
All right.
Oh.
All right.
Well, let me enlighten some people on some of the shit I do, okay?
Yes.
And this came to the forefront. God damn it. This came to the forefront this weekend. One of the things that I had concentrated on, now this Lake Chargar Gothathon has just, man, it is a very, very, very busy topographical mess, this lake. If you guys get a chance to look up Lake Chargar Gothathon,
Jar Jar Multibomb,
aka Lake Jar Jar Binks, which are now we've lost our one fan in Webster, like motherfuckers are making fun of my lake. If you guys look at this bottom of this lake, there are mid-lake humps, on mid-lake humps, in mid-lake valley. This thing is a mess. You got to figure out where you're starting.
Yeah.
So as in a previous tip, I've said use the wind, which I did and was successful with. Okay. But one thing I focused on when you get to this time of year and you have a lake that has a rocky bottom and it gets deep, I focus on trying to find relatively, let me really stress that word, relatively. It's going to be different for different lakes, but I try to find relatively weedy areas, and some of them that I know last into the winter. It's really weird. You would think like the plant life dies off under the ice, and there's some types of aquatic plants that just don't. And if I can find those and I know they're going to be year round, sometimes fish will start moving into them a little early because sometimes bait will.
Yeah.
Hence, the weediest place on the south end of the pond that I found had all those freaking alewives, and it was shallow, and they were already in there. So they're looking for whatever bugs or zooplankton that they're eating amongst the plant life, the fish are eventually going to make it in there after them. They're going to figure the predatory fish are going to figure out where they are. The thing that also helps is with a sandier or a rockier bottom lake where the bottom is probably going to be a little lighter than versus a weed, a weed filled lake or weed filled area. That temperature might be a little higher around those weeds, which is extremely important after the turnover. Because I honestly, after the turnover, I think the fish are now looking for the warmest possible area they can find with bait fish. So you got a double whammy there, or whatever they're eating. You know, they don't stop eating during the winter. They just do it under the ice up here. So that's my tip for the week. If you're out on a lake that has a light colored bottom, whether it's sand or rocks, and it's getting towards this time of the year, look for weeds. Look for weed beds. Anything you can find for weeds, you might find fish there. I say might because, again, I had to go to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my fifth stop. My fifth weed bed that I wanted to fish was where I found fish, but they were there.
Now I'm curious, Sean,
because hit me with some funny shit.
I don't like. I feel like somewhere along the way I picked up this information, and maybe it's wrong. Maybe it was my interpretation that's messed up. But I was under the belief that this time of year, right, weeds that are dying off deplete the water of oxygen.
Well, all right. So here's my understanding of that. And
Okay.
this is not gospel. Again, we have a couple of biologists that listen to this shit.
Yep.
So if I'm talking out my ass, call us up and call me out. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, yeah.
But isn't oxygen made by plants, especially under the water?
It is.
So if they're dying, I don't know if there's a decomposition that eats up oxygen, but they're not making any.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're not making anymore, so there would be less oxygen in those areas. But I've also heard, and this would again go to it, where if you can find the green grass, like if you can find like the healthiest of the grass, that's where your fish will be. You know, so
yeah, and if you're I think it's, man, is it hydrilla or the aquatic plant called coontail? One of them just lives all winter. I mean, if you're ice fishing and you go to the wrong area, you'll pull plenty of that shit up live. It doesn't seem to care about the cold.
Yeah,
one of the two. I think it's hydrilla. I might be wrong on that.
I don't know. Like coontail, I feel like definitely dies. Hydrilla.
It's one of the ones that can flee, like free float and live and not have to be rooted down. It gets rooted down, but it doesn't have to. It can float free. Like I think it's hydrilla, but
yeah. And then
again,
you know, that's the other part too. Like this is where I've been having the most challenges, because where I always look for weed edges, always, you know, I mean, like all summer long, like that's where I found a lot of my success. And then when you get those weeds that grow excessively and, you know, you get like mats on top and they're hollow underneath, and, you know, you can punch those, you can run, you know, topwater frogs and things over them. But when they start dying off and they start turning brown, I feel like I have, at least personally, noticed less success in those areas. And one of the things I've always tried to look at was, am I able to see any bright green in that plant? You know, wherever it is, am I able to see any of that bright green? And I've had situations where I've been fishing a wind-blown bank, and there's a lot of dead shit out there, but I might see a few wisps of green weeds that are out there, and I'll throw a net into them, or I'll swim my swim jig by it or something like that, or change. And you know, maybe it's the presentation, maybe it's the color, something like that, you know, and I just haven't gotten a pattern to get them to bite. But this year that's been one thing that's kind of been in my head, where I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for weeds, and I'm wondering if maybe that was the factor. Maybe where you lit them up at the end of that, maybe that was the greenest weed bed.
Or, I think there was a number of factors in play. I'm not going to say that's not a factor. There was plenty of green weeds in there, but it wasn't the weediest. Where those alewives were, that was the most alive part of the lake as far as aquatic,
just life in
vegetation.
general. Oh, yeah.
But I didn't see or catch any bass there.
Yeah.
Now, I had mentioned this earlier that I was going to come back to it. All right. I mentioned a lot of shit earlier. I can't even remember how much shit I mentioned earlier because it was like 2 hours ago. But when I had said I went pre-fishing, the day I didn't get any hits, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna just add to just the tip on this one with some more Sean the Fisherman inside my tackle box. Okay. I use 4 different profile of plastics for Ned rigs. Okay. I use your typical Ned rig, which is a 3-inch worm, 3-inch stick worm.
Yeah.
Now I'll even go as far as the brand I use. All right. Cause I don't really give a shit. The 3-inch stick worm I use those Bass Pro Stickos. They make them in 3 inches. Yep. They have almost every color I want, but there's this particular color that I use that I can't, they don't make it. So what I do in that case is I take a 4-inch worm and just take an inch off of it.
Yeah.
A 4-inch stick worm, cut it. That's good. And that, honestly, I found that like sometimes I'll even use those, before I go full blown 3-inch skinny stick worm, because those are a little fatter and seem to slow things down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because the head doesn't match up perfectly to it that I'm using. And it has a lot of area like around the head and it just causes drag. It just slows it down a hair. The next thing I use, and now I should say this I'm going to go by aggressiveness, starting with the least, so that if the fish are not really aggressive, I start with those. If they're a little more aggressive, and I've whittled things down to this point, I start very aggressive and go to what I just mentioned. I'll use a stick worm with a paddle tail or a paddle tail, name your brand. I've thrown a couple different kinds on there. I mean, Strike King makes one, Kitech makes one, you name it. Everybody's got it at this point. Yeah. So that's like they want something with a little bit of action, but not just like no action, like a stick worm.
Yeah, exactly.
If they want a little more than that, you're going to laugh at this, and I'm going to throw this out because I threw them under the bus, and now I officially owe them an apology. It was something that I've stopped using that I've reintegrated into my lineup.
Drop shots.
Nah, absolutely not.
I know.
What the fuck is a drop shot?
Yeah.
No, I actually have been getting a lot of use out of Zoom baby brush hogs as Ned rigs.
Yeah.
It's just opened a new door for me, and it's a lot of action with a slim profile.
Yeah, right? And it is very, very skinny, and there's appendages for days. That's
what she said. And applause and a drum roll.
It was that good.
Yes. The if the fish are really aggressive, as far as aggressive goes with finesse stuff, the thing I'll throw, the creature bait I'll throw is like a broader, flatter one with a lot of action. It's like a beaver style. You know what I mean? But there's a number of brands that make those too. Just get a 3-incher and throw those on.
Yeah.
So I start generally with the broad flat one, and I work all the way through until I get to the worm by itself, the skinny worm, the 3-incher. So when I went out and didn't catch anything, I got one like just absolutely smashing hit, and the fish didn't get the hook on a worm, and it was a certain color. And I said, I think that color was going to work here. And I really thought about it, and I made sure I had all 4 of those Ned styles in that color. I did have to make, I actually think I had all of them except for one, and I can't remember what it was. But anyways, I made sure I had that. I picked it up somewhere. And when I went out, I had actually pre-fishing in the north caught a bass on the baby brush hog. So I tried it in that color I used. That's what I got my first fish on, but I didn't get any more. And I'm like, look, something's telling me to keep using this and start cycling through colors. And I did. And again, I have a limited palette of colors. So I got to a particular color and that brush hog.
That was doing it. That was working.
That's what got me every fish I caught except for a bluegill that hit a jerkbait. I did catch a bluegill and a perch, but everything hit that, including those stalker trout that are in my freezer right now.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of awesome.
Yeah. It's just, again, limit your selection and for God's sake, just
make intelligent changes.
Make your notes on what you're doing and don't say, well, I got hit on a Ned rig plastic, I'm going to go to a spinnerbait.
Yeah.
What fucking, now if they're the same color,
that might be different, but you can
make that argument, but like, I don't know.
One's moving and one is generally far less action than anything else. So they're,
So that's a second part to Just a Tip. That's a reiteration, but I can tell you this, find those weed beds when it's cold and start there.
Yeah.
That is Just a Tip for this week, my friend.
I love it. Quality stuff as always.
I hear you got something for me.
Oh, I got something for you. Let's go ahead and do it, guys. It's about that time. You know what I'm saying.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Well, so I was having a conversation earlier this morning while drinking my coffee with Sean the Fisherman, and he chimes in and says, "Oh, we just got an FTG from Lauren at Three Bells Outfitters." And I said, "Oh, really? Okay. This is interesting." So I had gone and taken a listen to this sucker, and you guys are never, ever going to believe this. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Lauren to go ahead and explain.
Hey guys, Lauren from Three Bells Outfitters with this week's FTG contender. Last week while I was surf casting near home in the Long Island Sound, I was about 50 yards offshore with an outgoing tide on a windy day. And I was in front of me about 25 yards is a good rock pile that at low tide is known for stripers, bluefish, and sea robins this time of year. So I was out. I'm the only one in the water. And here comes this guy. Not just any old guy, a kite surfer. He's got the whole damn sound, and he's got to go between me and the rock pile. Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Oh, my God.
Thanks, bud. We got a new type of lake lice. They're saltwater winged versions. So there's FTG this week.
Wow. That's brutal. That is brutal right there. That sucks. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And why? A kite surfer?
Look,
all right, Ben Franklin. You slow down, Ben Franklin. All right.
Look, we fucking stay away from certain topics on this show, but if this doesn't prove Darwin's theory of evolution, the lake lice have wings. They are mobile. They're up in the air.
I know. It's bad. I'm taking it as my mission. I'm going to get a skeleton key, and I'm going to tie one to every single kite string I see. That's
you're
going
to
down.
say you were going to get a rifle.
No. I'm far more comedic than that.
The lake lice will survive if their wings are cut off. I'm pretty sure.
They will.
You know, unless they're out like around Chatham, then it's 50-50.
Oh, they were swarming. Lawrence,
oh my God,
there's 5 of them on the water. Yeah, that's not okay. That sucks. I'm so sorry you even had to deal with that, Lauren. That
sucks. They make shampoo for that shit.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, shit, my haircut will do it. Yeah. You know? Bye.
Sucks.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Well,
that does suck.
She obviously Three Bells is a sponsor and they have to have more professionalism than we do.
Exactly.
We do the dirty work. Let me say on behalf of Lauren and everyone out there who has to deal with these winged lake lice, fuck those guys.
Fuck them. Fuck them long and fuck them hard.
Gross. We can't get through 5 minutes on
we
this
really
show
can't.
Joke,
it's awful. I mean, show started out so simple. If you listen to like the first 3 episodes, you're like, oh wow, this guy Bobby Roast Beef likes to fish, and he's talking. Now we're all like, fuck this guy, fuck that guy, fuck that guy, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
Oh, see, this I like to hear. Only one asshole. The other 4 of the 5 that were on the water all stayed on their half of the sound. You know, I mean, like that's
always one.
That's the thing. You have to think that person just has to be oblivious. But if that's the case, I really think that we need to make a plea that other recreational boaters need to start saying, hey, don't be a fucking idiot, because you make us all look bad. You know, it's so funny. I just listened to a podcast because one of the topics I like to listen to podcasts about is not fishing, it's podcasting. I listen to a lot of podcasts that are about podcasting and podcasts. And in this one guy, the topic came up. It was about sponsors and dealing with them and how to sort of like represent yourself the best and all this kind of thing. And you know, maybe having them not listen to this show would be a good idea. But anyway, you know, he's talking about this and he makes a really good point. He goes, when you're dealing with any kind of a sponsor, regardless of the company, regardless of the size of the company, anything like that, he goes, if they've never, and odds are they probably have never dealt with like doing advertising or anything with you, you got to keep in mind that not only are you your show and representing your show and yourself, but you're also kind of representing the podcast platform. So if they have a bad experience, odds are they're not going to advertise on any podcasts. You know what I mean? So there is an obligation to, do your due diligence to do the best you can to not, screw this up for, any other potential podcast that might come across that they may want to advertise with or sponsor or whatever it might be. So, that's the thing. You can only hope that the same would be said for rec boaters,
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, my advice is to anyone who is podcasting or doing anything with media where sponsors and advertisers are involved is get them, introduce them and get them addicted to duck quesadillas. It inspires all sorts of loyalty. You're fine.
Yeah.
You could say whatever. You could say however many dick jokes you want.
Now that you've given away our secret sauce,
hey, you told everybody about the Instagram shit last week. I mean, I got to do what I got to do.
That's true.
Yep.
Oh, shit. Look who's here. The one and only Ellie. Hot off the press. Oh, fuck.
You know what? I'm not going to get into the exact details, but did you see Ellie's recent activity on either, I don't know if it's Facebook or Instagram? She put a very nice selfie up and some very rude things. That wasn't rude, but very off-colored things she wrote. It was fantastic. Fantastic. Talk about engaging an audience. Very nice. I think it was Facebook. I might be wrong. I saw it this morning and laughed, and yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Well, thank you for the content, Ellie. That was phenomenal, and we all had a laugh over it, and she fucking tells it like it is. Ellie doesn't give a shit.
No, she doesn't. She's pretty awesome. Oh my goodness. No, I just, that's the thing though. I think that that's the only thing that at this point we can hope for when it comes to rec boaters and, whatever it is. It's not a bad idea to police your own. Fishermen. We say to each other all the time, take in what you take out, Ay. Oh, immaculate tater tots. I missed something. I have no idea what this is about.
Wait till you see that post. If you guys aren't following Ellie Noel, please all follow her because the spontaneous insanity that she posts is highly entertaining. And God, I mean, Ellie, we love you for it. It's fucking phenomenal. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. I just can't remember if it was Instagram or Facebook at this point because I don't know. I've had a rough weekend.
It's been a weekend.
I fucking blew up an island with my ass.
That's true. Yeah, you did. Yeah. You did. Hiroshima. That's now the new name of that island.
No. Nobody look at very different criteria. We'll just call it a nuclear test. It's fine.
A nuclear test. We'll call it a test.
We'll call it. It was a test. Yep. Yes, and also Ellie was running around a CVS with a dragon skeleton from Halloween that would not stop screaming, and I guess one of her friends took it from her.
So that I did see.
Yes.
I did see that, and you know what's funny? I think we have the same dragon in my house.
Very nice.
Halloween is a big deal here.
Yeah, we got some shit. I got a skeletal triceratops. We found that one day, and if you pull it, it makes a Godzilla noise. So that was just like a home run.
Oh.
Yeah. Does it fit? No. Godzilla noise plus a skeletal triceratops?
No.
We can make it work.
Yeah. Let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Well, this show is chock full of good stuff right there. We got into the saltwater world for FTG. We gave some good input for weeds and such, weed beds and cold water. I think, we're hitting home runs all over the place here, Sean.
Well, let me tell you about another home run I got for you.
Oh, I think you got a home run.
I need some Dothraki wedding music, please.
Oh, you need the Dothraki? Oh, that is Last Strike for Glory all day. Let's do it. And
Last Strike for Glory. So for those of you Game of Thrones fans, I am known as the horse that mounts the world. Let's just leave it at that.
Wow.
Well, it's a Dothraki wedding. What the fuck?
It's true. But
Oh,
Jesus.
son of a bitch. Nope. I am the world that got mounted by a horse. You know what I did?
What?
I closed the file. I've got to reopen it. Give me a second.
Oh, there we go.
Buy me time. I had the wrong Excel file open.
I'll build it with this.
What do you? There you go. We jamming now?
Yeah, we're just feeling it out.
All right. I am ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Boy, all right. So we had some action this weekend. A lot of the competitors were, believe it or not, 6 of the people in the tournament for Chronic Trips were actually fishing the MAKB championship. So,
oh really?
Yeah, it was
That's
a large.
awesome.
So here were the. I'm going to name this. Is not any order. So Nelson was in it. Nate Shagnon was in it. Gravy Fishing, Eric Graves was in it. Myself, Jerry Howes, and Scott Rhodes. So 6 of us were all competing, not only for the championship for MAKB, but we're also simultaneously competing in Chronic Trips, trying to get any fish we could on the board.
Sure.
I had a very good multi-species day, but the only fish I submitted because of time, because I was so focused on bass.
Yep.
Was that beautiful tiger trout.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the tiger trout.
I mean, that one was too bad. I'm like, I got to put that one in. That was a beautiful, beautiful fish. So I'm sure I'll do a recap of the MAKB tournament on Instagram, a quick one probably tomorrow morning, and I will make sure to include that picture of the tiger trout.
Yeah,
that's only the second or third one I've ever caught, and man, what good looking fish. So, all right, I'm gonna do the reverse of last week because we had some changes. We had some changes. There was some shuffling, not shuffling like you see on Instagram.
No
shuffling. No, not that shit. All right. So down at the bottom, Blake Dodson still hanging tight with 2 points. Come on, Blake, get on the board. You can do better than 2 points. Nelson's right above him at 4. We got Josh Hubner hooked up north. He's got 6 points. 3 Bell's own Derek Ardioli, still the only person with a saltwater fish on the board, 8 points. Got our man, Nate Shagnon.
Yeah, we do.
He's got 9 points. Unsurprisingly tied with Tim Jakes. And no, Tim, it's not funny to put things that do not belong on measuring boards and send me pictures of them as submissions. Not cool. But I did chuckle. Okay.
You make that sound so sinister.
It was bad. And it was sinister, knowing what he's been through. No, it's too soon. All right, so now it sounds really sinister. All right, we get up into double digits for the top 5. Gravy Fishing was hanging out in 3rd. He is no longer in 3rd. He's down at 5th. All right? But he went it for bass yesterday, and you could tell he focused on that, and that's good stuff, and that's what you're supposed to do. Got a week left, Gravy. Get out there and kick some ass, buddy. Oh, actually, let me take a pause. I talked to him today. All right? As you know, like, when doing this judging and stuff, I will reach out to someone if I have to DQ a fish, especially if it's a big fish. I don't like doing that, but I do it, and I explain the rules and say, this is what you can do better next time. Gravy, I had to wipe a 19-inch pickerel off the board that he caught yesterday. Very nice pickerel. Yeah. It just mispositioned so that it was a half inch away from the vertical edge.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, it was too much. I'm like, dude, I had to do it. That's shit happens. And he goes, you know what really sucks? I go, that I DQ'd that fish? He goes, no, that I forgot my catch board at home today. Apparently, he went out on a bass boat with somebody today, a friend of his.
Oh, really?
Didn't bring his catch board. 24.5-inch pickerel.
Shut up.
Yeah, he said it was 24, but he didn't measure it with a catch board. He measured it with something else. And I said, that sucks, man. I said, why did you not have your catch board with you? He said, I left at 4:30 in the morning. I said, again, I'll ask, why did you not have your catch board with you?
Live well that bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Live well that son of a bitch, man. If you're on, I did the same thing in Champlain. I went out all fired up to go catch fish for the Jigs and Bigs tournament, and it was Ian. Ian was like, dude, we don't have to measure the fish right here.
Yeah.
He's like, I can live well them. He's like, it's not going to be that hot. They're not going to be, it's not like it's going to be that bad, for them. And I mean, in that situation, we were able to easily just drop them at the cabin, release them right there. But,
a trout you might have problem with in the live well, but not a chain pickerel or a bass. Not a chain
pickerel or a bass. Hell no.
Yeah. So he's 5th place with 10 points. I have slipped up into 4th place on the back of that tiger trout. That for being colder water and for the stocking just happening, I think everyone's kind of having a problem getting a hold of trout, which is weird. I mean, usually like Berkshire Brett is on top of the trout, but he's hung up the fishing rods for the years.
It's true.
Quitter Brett. I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking at you, buddy. Quitter. Cheryl, you too, and you don't even fish that much. So there's fifth and fourth. In third, our very own loaded potato, Andy, 16 points. So he's got a little breathing room between he and I. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to get to fish this week. So that gap is probably going to stay. Second place. You ready for a surprise?
Oh, I'm ready.
Jerry Multi-House.
Knock me over with a feather.
Knock you over with a feather. Now, I should make mention, he's in second place, but tied for first and lost on the tiebreaker to make him second. The tiebreaker, the first tiebreaker, of course, is number of species caught when it comes to total points.
Yeah.
Moving up into first place on the back of a week that, dude, he popped in a crappie, popped in a trout. I mean, this man is kind of ruling the roost here with multi-species and winning categories.
Yeah.
So he's getting extra points. He's winning crappie, he's winning largemouth, he's winning perch. He's getting extra points in pickerel, smallmouth, and trout. Scott Rhodes.
Nice, dude.
Purveyor of Dunkin' coffee that may kill me. Good job, Scott. You're tied with Jerry at 20. You're leading him because of the tiebreaker. Guys, we got a week left. Get out there. This is the last Chronic Trips tournament of the year.
Yeah.
Right now, the game plan, I think we've talked about this before, is once this one wraps up, we are taking the holidays off from any fishing tournaments.
Yep.
Not a lot of people get out anyways. It's a little bit cold up here in the Northeast. We will be starting up a fishing tournament in January, and it's going to go for 60 days, and it's going to be ice fishing. All right? So if you're in the South, we have to figure out the rules on this, on how this is going to go. Are we going to make this a nice fishing only thing, or we're going to make it a whole country? And if you're going through the ice, we'll figure that out. And we obviously want as many people involved as possible. More to come on that. But, you know, I said it earlier to the MAKB anglers, but thanks to everybody for Chronic Trips and Jigs and Bigs, all the tournaments you guys participated in.
Oh, yeah.
We had a blast. It was great seeing the participation, and you and I still have. I think we have a little donation to make, don't we? A little something for somebody.
Yep, we do.
So more news on that, and we'll of course make a big deal out of that because that's what we do. But thank you guys. This is your director, Sean the Fisherman, who has been very, very, very happy with 2021 and everybody jumping in on all these tournaments. So
it was really good.
You. Yeah, thank you guys. This was awesome.
Yeah, I think on all levels it was great. It was great for our first year going out doing tournaments, you know, for listeners. The second great year for Chronic Trips, and then, you know, you bring in, you know, the legitimacy of having a trail like MAKB West, and
not that Jigs and Bigs and Chronic Trips aren't legitimate.
No, they're not, but they're much more open. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know,
we're new. We have to earn respect.
Yeah.
We have to earn the street cred.
Yeah.
Which that's getting those anglers in and getting people participating. That's what earns that street cred. And man, thank you guys. You did a hell of a job.
It was pretty awesome.
So they get up. Can you give them the big round of applause?
I will. You know what? I am going to give them the big round of applause. Damn it, they've earned it.
Bravo.
I'm going to go ahead and slow this music.
Sounds like people are applauding at the Dothraki wedding. Somebody must have died. So, hey, I just want to bring up one last thing before we cut to break in the butcher.
Fire away, yeah.
So months ago, and I told you this, you gave me a sample candle that you got from our good friend Brian. It's Brian Smuda, right?
Smuda, yeah.
Yeah. So he has a couple of Travel Buddy little tiny candles for if you're going to a hotel room and it smells like like ass. If you're on an island and you get a whiff of something that you might want a candle for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
somebody's dying here.
This Travel Buddy candle that you threw my way. You can look at you showing it up to the camera right now. It's a little tiny candle, and I actually got cute with it and said, "I'm going to think outside the box here." And I left it in my truck since you gave it to me. And I believe you gave me that candle in like April.
Yeah.
And what that truck candle would do in that environment in the summer, it just melted every day. It smelled really good, and then it would just reform at night and melt every day.
Yep.
And it was fine. But I finally decided maybe
to
2
burn
weeks
it.
ago to burn it while we were recording. So my little look at, you can see this. Yeah, look at the flame. It's burning. I got the what scent do I have? I forget.
I think you've got the.
I've got. Well, can Dusty Rhodes say it?
Go for it.
Dusty Rhodes got a woodsy walk candle, baby. That's what I'm talking about. So I got woodsy walk, and it makes my recording area / nerd room.
That's what I have
nice.
here too. Is woodsy walk.
You got some woodsy walk.
Oh, it's a woodsy walk.
We Bobby Roast Beef, Sean the Fisherman. We taking on the Midnight Express, the Omni in Atlanta next Saturday night. Jim Cornette, you better not interfere. All right, sorry, can't get too far with that. Can I tell you something funny? We're gonna while you're
with some funny shit.
All right, I'm gonna tell you this story. This is some pro wrestling shit. All right,
yeah.
I've said on the show before, I do listen to the Jim Cornette podcast pretty religiously, and I hope that, should he or anybody involved in their podcast not think that I'm ripping them off. But when I hear, he worked with Dusty Rhodes for years. Yeah. Dusty Rhodes was the main, the term is booker for anybody who's not familiar with wrestling stuff. Basically, back in the day, a booker would be how do you put this? I guess the guy who controls the personnel. He's like the fucking storyteller, the HR guy, and everything all put together, right? Mm-hmm. He's responsible for the product. And Dusty was doing that in the old NWA, what became WCW. Yep. So Jim Cornette and they worked together. And I didn't know any of this shit for years because it was like a closed door. And then the internet came out, and then you started hearing all these backstories about wrestling, about what was going on behind the stage and who was employed by who or who was leaving whatever and all this shit. I didn't know any of that. And when wrestling boomed in the 90s with the WWF Attitude Era and WCW had the NWO invasion, all that shit going on.
Yep.
And everybody was watching wrestling. And I was working with this guy at a factory overnights. All right. This is before I enlisted. And we were making shit. We were making shit to do with hydrogels, right? So like face masks, burn pads, you name it. We were cutting the shapes of it. This is after, I stopped working at the electronics store a couple of years after. And I would work overnights with this temp dude named John. John was from California, and John loved wrestling too. And John did the greatest Dusty Rhodes impersonation, but he would take it in like horrible directions. I almost lost my hand on too many nights I can count with the machine because it was like a 400-pound press.
Oh, yeah.
That would cut these things. And I would be laughing and not paying attention to where my hand was by the machine. And I was like crying to the point where there was this old woman that worked with us that would constantly rat us out. These guys are screwing around. Somebody's going to get hurt. And she was fucking right. And I will never forget how funny that was. Like, I was crying every night laughing the way this guy was just saying shit in Dusty Rhodes' voice. And I will never forget that. So it carried on. I've carried that to this day. And it's really, really funny to me to hear Jim Cornette does the same thing. And I hope they don't feel I'm ripping the podcast off.
No, of course.
I unknowingly have been doing this Dusty Rhodes impersonation for years, to the point where even before I started listening to that podcast, when Dusty Rhodes passed on, I remember actually putting a Facebook post up saying, I don't ever do this with celebrities. This man passed on, has been responsible for more laughter in times of need.
Yeah.
Whether, I never, he's a celebrity. I'm not making fun of him.
No, exactly.
Personally or maliciously or anything like that. But impersonations of Dusty Rhodes have carried my life. And I said, I have had major life events that I have not posted this much information about on Facebook than the passing of Dusty Rhodes. Yeah. So, now the other story about John was he told me a story about some of the shit that was on television in California. He moved from California to Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And I hung out with him one night. We were partying. He goes, we were watching wrestling. He goes, you know what happened to me one night? I go, what? He goes, I came back from the clubs out in LA. And he goes, they're obviously with, California has a large Hispanic population. So there are several Spanish channels. And he goes, late at night, they put on Lucha Libre Wrestling from, I can't remember if it was AAA or EMLL, one of the organizations down in Mexico. And it was on whatever Los Angeles channel. He goes, He goes, I come home from the bar. I'm completely wasted. I make a sandwich. I sit down in front of the TV and I flip on this Lucha Libre wrestling. And Lucha Libre obviously is characterized by some pretty extravagant costumes and masks.
Yeah, they
and
are.
He goes, I'm watching this, and he goes, I don't understand Spanish. And the announcers are talking in Spanish. And what I'm getting is there's a good guy in the ring, and he's getting beat up by two bad guys. And the announcers all start getting excited, and they're announcing that he's getting help. Somebody's running out from the back, and he goes, this dude runs out he's like 6 feet tall, and he's wearing the cheapest Kmart Easter Bunny costume of all time, right? And the announcers are just screaming, El Super Rabito! Right? So he goes, El Super Rabito hits the ring and immediately starts getting his ass kicked too by these two villains, right? He goes, no less than 30 seconds later, he goes, I had to turn the TV off because I was laughing so hard I couldn't take it. He goes, and obviously things have changed again, but several little people that had been hired by the promotion.
Oh, yeah.
Dressed up in children's Easter Bunny costumes, did a run-in to clear the ring of the villains. And the announcer then yelled, just as excited, La Familia Rabito! These are the stories you hear when you're working at a factory at 3 o'clock in the morning in 1998.
It's true, though. It's true. It's messed up, man.
All I can tell anybody, if you have any interest in hearing some entertaining shit, I am a fan and listener of Jim Cornette, and you want to learn about the way things were and not the way things are with that entertainment industry now. I hate to say that, but
yeah,
check out Cornette if you're not listening to him. I love him.
My God.
Yeah.
My goodness. Oi. All right. Well, let's go ahead. We'll put a cap in this segment here, guys. We have an interview coming up that's been a long time coming. We've got Ryan Bogli, a.k.a. Sean. Finish your water and do us a favor. Who is Ryan exactly?
Super Rabito! Or a.k.a. The Butcher.
We're gonna get him a rabbit costume. That's got to happen. That has got to happen.
We only got 6 days to do it.
I know. Chop. We'll put that together. But anyway, when we get back, we've got an interview with the Butcher himself. He's got a lot to talk about. We get into it, and we have a great conversation. And then when we come back out of that, we're going to wrap things up, guys. Trust me, you don't want to go too far. We have much more coming up right after this. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Hey, what's up, guys? Bobby Roast Beef here with another interview guest segment here in the Beef Seat. We've got Ryan Bogli. I just found out that I have been saying it incorrectly. Sean and I both have been saying this man's last name incorrectly, but that's okay. You know why? This is why. Because you might know him as the Butcher. I got Ryan with me. Ryan, how are you, dude? How's things?
Going good. How
Good,
you
good.
been?
I'm pretty good, man. We have a lot of stuff going on. First and foremost, you are engaged. You're getting married, and I hear you hired an amazing DJ for your reception.
Yeah, I don't know where I got that guy from, but
Amazing.
pretty good.
It's going to be great. But you're also a man of many announcements recently. You got a lot going on. We're going to talk about a lot of that stuff. We're also going to get to know about your preferences when it comes to fishing and stuff. You know, you cover it all. Like you're all over the place, you know? So why don't we start out by this? Why don't you start out by explaining to me how fishing kind of came into your life, how you were introduced to it, and like sort of how take me along the journey of how we started out and then we got to this point here where you're about to take off on some huge stuff.
Yeah, so I started fishing when I was really young. Me and my dad always go out, stepmom as well.
Yep.
Dad had a real old boat, heavy ass big black boat, and we would just go out. I did a lot of catfishing growing up. My dad pretty good bait fisherman, so we did a lot of bait fishing. So kind of grew up fishing that way. Then all of a sudden I took a break. I raced BMX for quite some time. I traveled the country doing that on a national circuit.
No kidding.
And after some few injuries, I got really back into fishing.
Yep.
Probably the last 8 years.
Nice.
Started off a lot of bank fishing, a lot of co-angling tournaments.
Yep.
And as of late, things kind of just fell into my lap. My fiance really supports my fishing, and from there we got a boat, and things are really starting to kick off now. I can't thank so many different people for supporting me and pushing me to do what I'm doing. So
that's freaking awesome.
It's pretty much the journey from live bait only as a kid to even in that time frame of fishing the banks in my kayak. It's just I had a few years of just large swim baits. So
okay.
Huck and big baits. That's pretty much what got me back into bass fishing.
Oh, really?
Once I got into the tournament scene, I started focusing on more of the terminal tackle, things like that. So
now what was it what was the appeal like about the swim baits specifically? Like what was it that kind of piqued your interest?
I had a couple friends down in Connecticut, and then met a couple people up here in Mass that would just constantly get 6-7 pound fish, and it was like, I need that in my life. I need that big bite. So kind of invested in some pretty nice larger rods, larger reels, and kind of started there. And then from that point, it was nice catching one nice fish a day here and there, catching a 4 or 5 pounder.
Yep.
And then it was like, then I fell in love with I can catch 30 fish a day, being full pace, changing out. And like, as you always talk about finding the fish and the strategies, that's what makes bass fishing fun to me.
Totally.
Like when you, I think it was this past episode, I listened to you say, if you're on them, you'll still change up your bait to see what you can do different to see if they're targeting something else.
Yeah.
Like that's something I like to do now. I like to change things up and see what they're doing or what they're willing to eat.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. As far as your preferences for fishing, what's your favorite season to be out there for you as an angler? Not so much for, because the fishing is great, but because you enjoy being out there in these conditions. Like what season do you gravitate to the most?
I like the turnover from spring to summer. After all the bedding fish, I like that hard grind in the summer to trying to find them. That's my favorite time. I've caught a lot, as you've known. I caught a lot of big fish this year in that time span.
Yep.
I had 6 fish in the month of the early July, right before this got real warm. I had 5 fish that month over 5 pounds, and that's my favorite season. It's right after the spawn.
Yep.
Because I haven't really. Obviously, I didn't have a boat much, so I wasn't much of a spawn fisherman at that time. I mean, I'm still as bad as I'm going to say. I'm a tournament angler now. I feel bad sometimes pulling a big largemouth off a bed sometimes, but that's just me speaking for myself. But that's probably my favorite time is that summertime.
Right after spawn is done, like post spawn when things start to get really kind of tough.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, post spawn because that's more rewarding to me. Like when I caught that 514 this year.
Yep.
In post spawn, it was like. That was so rewarding because like that fish 4 weeks earlier probably would have been a 6.8,
Yeah,
a 6.9.
it's true.
And,
It's true.
And
that's part of the reason. It's funny. That's part of the reason why I've started, like, because I fish all but like 2.5 to 3 months a year. I try to, and in the extreme ends of that, it's all bank fishing or getting on somebody's boat. The kayak I only bring out for like I'd say probably the majority of that time. But like when I'm out there, it's a similar sort of thing where like I don't know. I just it's just sort of one of those things. As far as like bodies of water, are you more of a river guy? Are you looking for current? Do you like big lakes that you can break down? Although now having a bass boat, I'm sure that makes it a lot easier to break down larger bodies of water. Or are you all about pond hopping? Do you like to just kind of get out there and go from small body to water to small body of water and pack it up and move on? What's your style more like?
I mean, for the last 10 years, I would pond hop. That was me. That was 100% me. Kind of like you get in that car, Google Maps, pond hop, pond hop, pond hop. Me and my brother would just hop from pond to pond, and that was fun. But now having the boat, I'm picking different lakes to go to each time and really trying to figure them out in the graph. So at this moment, I'd probably say smaller lakes are probably still my go-to.
Yep.
I haven't really fished the Great Lakes too much. I fished Champlain a few times. Yeah, it's nice. Obviously, it's a pretty amazing lake. But I haven't gone out enough on those lakes to say, oh, that's my favorite. So right now it's probably like the Central Mass Middle Lakes that we all have around here, because there's so many that are locally to me that I'm trying to learn, and that's really what I'm doing at this point. That's probably my favorite right now.
That's awesome. Now, as far as current goes, are you intimidated by river systems, or are you more like
I'm looking for current.
Yeah, nice.
I'm looking for current. Like when I'm fishing Quabog, I'm looking for the river.
Yep.
And I'm looking for that current coming into and out of. I grew up fishing the river. I was 3 minutes from the Farmington River in Connecticut, and even closer to the Connecticut River.
Yeah.
We were always fishing the river. That's where we grew up fishing. And I'm not afraid of any of the currents. So I think current's a little bit of brings a challenge into your fishing, and
you definitely have to adjust for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Have you fished the Farmington, like the mouth of the Farmington near the Connecticut River?
No, I've never fished the Farmington at all, any stretch of it at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah.
It's
a very good stretch from the Windsor area to the Connecticut River. A lot of big. My brother went out earlier this year with my dad's friend on his boat.
Yep.
And they had a day of catching just straight 4 and 5 pound smallies out of the Farmington.
No kidding.
They had an absolute blast of a day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, the Farmington and the Housatonic I've heard are great for smallmouth fishing.
Yeah, Housatonic I've heard. I've never fished it personally, but I think my brother has. But
I'll get out there eventually. Next year I've got a goal. 2 kayak trips a week. That's my goal next week. I'm twice a week. I want to be in that boat, even if one of them's late at night. I want to fit them in. That's my sort of my mission that I'm lining up here.
Nothing wrong with a little dark time fishing.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now. No.
Oh yeah, and I think I got to thank Sean the Fisherman for introducing me to it, because I'll tell you, like, night fishing sounds awesome, but I think going out to a brand new body of water, especially if you're doing it alone, not a great idea. You know what I mean?
It's a little sketchy.
Yeah, and I mean, going to any body of water and night fishing from the bank, you run the risk of you take that risk of bank fishing and losing baits, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, and then you amplify that by doing, by fishing at night. You're going to lose some stuff. So, yeah, I definitely think, you got to know where you're fishing. You got to know where you're headed and kind of go with it. As far as baits go specifically, like you mentioned, big swim baits are, something that you really enjoy throwing. What's your top 3 like confidence baits, and where do the big swim baits fit in there if they do?
They do not actually anymore. Really? Not in a little while. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'll probably go with number 3 is probably the bull shad wake bait. I'll probably keep that in the top 3. That's definitely caught me some great fish.
Yep.
Number 2 is I'd go with a little bit of a finesse style. I've been a big Nico rig person the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So the Nico has definitely caught me a lot of fish. And then the last one, number 1's got to be my white chatterbaits.
Okay.
Shout out to Bog Hog, his white chatterbaits I'm stocked up on. It's probably my number 1 go-to. That's what I throw in most. If I need a bite real bad, I'll throw that. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, you can punch it, you can put it where you want to put it.
Yeah.
See if you can find something. You can cover some water.
And chatterbaits are they're great. I mean, they're great in so many different settings, and they're ridiculously popular too. People love them. Do you have a preference? Like, I know you said Bog Hog. Is that your favorite, the one you use all the time specifically? Or
that's specifically the one I go with usually. I've been with them. I've been using their baits for almost 3 years now.
Where do you weigh in on the like the jackhammer and the thunder cricket and stuff like that? Do you think that they're worth that? Well, specifically the jackhammer with that crazy price tag.
I do not. I have not caught. I've thrown the jackhammer before. I got one as a gift for Christmas. I was catching the same fish as I was on the $5 Z-Man.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't swim really any different to me personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually bend out my chatterbaits a little bit anyways to make them swim a little bit different. I don't know if people in the video can see it, but I kind of cup the front bill, and it makes it swim a little more like this rather than side to side. So a little more up and down swim. Yeah.
Huh.
So I've always been doing that. That's like a little pinch with the.
That's like that. That's interesting. Like showing them a little. They say it all the time. Show them something a little bit different. Change it up. That's awesome.
Yeah, a little pinch on the blade goes a long way sometimes.
Huh.
And I learned that actually from my brother shad fishing down in Connecticut.
Yep.
We on the willow leaf, you bend them out a little bit, they swim different. And I was like, can I incorporate that into bass fishing?
Oh yeah.
And I started bending out some things, and everything swam different. And maybe it was just the luck of the draw, but I've gotten some nice fish after bending that out. It's just a little different presentation.
That's awesome. Let's talk about, so the nickname The Butcher. Where did this come from? Tell me the story. Explain it.
So there really isn't a story.
Really? No?
No. I walked in. I got to throw it out to OGO Zach.
Okay.
I walked in the Old Glory one day. The day after I caught, there was that same week where I caught a bunch of those 4.5 to 5 pounders.
Yep.
The day after I posted that 514, I walked through the front door and he was like, "The Butcher," and I was like, "Dude, that's it. Nobody said it before. That's gotta stick. That's it. I gotta go from there. I'm taking it and running."
That's awesome.
I designed the logo. I just had some T-shirts ordered. I had stickers ordered, and now the logo's on my boat. It's on everything I have.
So I got to tell you, the first time I heard the nickname The Butcher out there, immediately my mind went back to 1998, 1999. A young Bobby Roastbeef playing drums and metal and hardcore bands, and there was a band from Connecticut at this time called Torn Asunder, and we were very good friends with them. Very, very good friends with them. Played tons of shows with them. And one of the songs that sticks out in my mind all the time is called The Butcher. And I'm gonna close this week's show with it. It's a death metal song, so I apologize in advance, guys. But I'm gonna play that on the way out of this show, because I was on the drive home. Actually, I was just like, son of a bitch, that's right. Torn Asunder. So I looked it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, all right, we're gonna play this sucker on the way out of the show. So I was like, I gotta play this for Ryan, man. It's too freaking good. Let's go.
That's where we came from.
Yeah, I mean that's the name of the game. It's funny. Somebody throws a name out there, and sometimes it just kind of sticks.
Yeah.
And when you hear it, and you're like, that's freaking gold. I gotta make that work. Yeah, I definitely can get that. Now, you know this. You've been listening to the show for a long time. You know the deal. That old saying about fishing tackle, catching more fishermen than it actually catches fish. What do you think is the most ridiculous trend that you've seen in the fishing industry that we've been given? And have you tried it? And how did it work out if you did?
I have to go with the topwater duck lure.
The duck. Okay.
That has got to be the most ridiculous lure I've ever thrown before. And yes, I have tried it.
Oh, you have tried it. Okay. All right. That's good.
I did not get anything. I actually passed it on to my brother to see if he could get anything.
Which now
it is.
There's a couple of them. Like there's one that looks like a rubber ducky. It's not that one, was it?
No, the Savage Gear duck.
Oh, this one. Okay, so it's like real life like.
I had, it was the real life looking duck. I mean, I'm assuming it probably work. It's got the little paddle tails. And,
yep.
I mean, it's a small whopper plopper presentation, I guess. But I really had nothing. But there's a lot of people out there that, I mean, I'd say it's more of a YouTube lure than anything. A lot of people try to get it to make it, let's catch a fish on the worst lure ever made type thing.
Yeah, or try to put something out there that's so goofy. Plus, like,
yeah.
You know, I mean, you got to look at like what's the duck population like in that body of water? Have they seen this? You know, I mean, because I could see, I think I want to say there's actual like YouTube video of like baby ducks swimming along and one of them
get eaten by bass.
Yeah, one of them gets taken out because bass are savages. I get that. You know, I think it was Todd Grubb that actually said that. He was like, they're savages. They'll eat anything, and I agree with that. But it's like, man, it's like some of those baits. There was one, Sean just shared this with me. He was perusing some new tackle, and he found Lunker Hunt put out a cockroach.
I saw those.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
as somebody who lives, and fishes right around the Holyoke Dam periodically, maybe there's a pattern.
There.
I mean, maybe there's a pattern. I don't know. I'm like,
Holyoke shit.
What blows my mind is like, especially with Lunker Hunt, they did a cicada. And there's only a cicada hatch every so often. So like, if you miss that pattern, you have like quite a wait before that's going to be relevant
like
again.
6 years, right?
So yeah, something like that. I mean, I think different ones are different. I think there's a 17-year cicada. Like it's crazy. Like it can be a while.
I know when they're here, you know they're here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, it's been a long sort of mantra of mine that you can go out and have a terrible day of fishing, but if you were with the right company, it's fantastic. What are 3 people that you would want to fish with most? And they can be living or dead.
3 people I want to be. I was thinking about this earlier. I knew this question was coming. I didn't think too much of it. Number 3, I'd probably throw out. I mean, I've always wanted to fish with Bill Dance.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's obviously somebody that I've always wanted to do. And the second one is probably not just one person. It's probably my family, my brother and my dad.
Yep.
I wouldn't turn a day of going fishing with them down for anything.
Oh, yeah.
We don't fish quite as much as we used to. Obviously, I moved farther away from home.
Yep.
And we don't see each other that much, but my brother's a little older now, doing tournaments, so he's going to start doing some tournaments with me.
Oh,
we're actually doing one on next weekend, so
nice.
Pretty excited about that. Number 1, I'd probably ask to go with Brandon Polinick.
Brandon Polinick, nice.
He's my top bass fisherman right now. I love how he fishes. I love his demeanor. I love how he left the sport and he came back just as top notch as when he left.
Yeah.
And I just want to learn his smallmouth tactic, man. when he won on Champlain, coming back from 9th place to 1st place last year, with that absolute crazy bag, just the way I want to learn his drop shots. I'm a big fan of Excellent Lures too.
Yep.
And that's the brand he fishes with. But dude, he's just an incredible fisherman. I would love to go out on a day with him.
Yep. Pick his brain a little bit, get some of that intel.
Yeah, I would pick everything he's got.
Yep. I hear you, man. I hear you. What do you listen to get like pumped up on your way to go out and fish, or while you're out fishing? Do you even listen to music while you're fishing?
I do listen to music. It's kind of weird. Do you know the band Iration?
I don't. I don't think so. I'd have to look them up. Maybe I'm not remembering the name, but
it's kind of like a it's on a Bob Marley type side of things.
Okay.
Not too much of a rock guy. I kind of listen to that. It gets the vibes going.
Yep.
But most of the time, I don't have music on the boat or when I'm fishing. But on the way there, I'm kind of just mindset going, listen to some smooth music.
Yep.
Keeping cool.
Nice.
So I go with them a lot. I go on YouTube, Apple TV, Apple Music, and just iration all the way. It's just very nice, soothing music. I love it.
Cool. I'll check it out. That's good to know. There was somebody, I think it was Billy and Heidi from Naqua, that had mentioned this group called the Elevators.
That's it.
Oh, this is it. Gotcha.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
All right. You should, yeah, that's it. That's exactly in line with what I was thinking. Billy and Heidi from Naqua had both, when I asked them this question, they were like, we're really into like this group called the Elevators, like that sort of like loose, laid back reggae kind of feel.
Oh, it's kind of like the same thing.
Same idea. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think
they
you would
pop
definitely
up.
dig
They
them.
pop up in the Pandora playlist with iration all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it definitely makes sense. What is your what's your most unusual talent? Either fishing related, or if you're like, no, I'm pretty straightforward with my fishing, that's not fishing related. So unusual talents.
Unusual talents. All right, so a lot of the fishing community doesn't know this.
Yep.
When I was high school, late middle school, high school, I did a lot of performing. I was big into Broadway. I did a lot of Broadway performing. I was all through high school. I did plays. I did show choir. I did a lot of dancing, stuff like that. That was me.
Really?
Kind of I did a lot of that. I did a lot of stage presence. I was always up in the front of the school doing things like that.
You're building this up, your wedding reception, in a major way. I'm expecting to see a rug thoroughly cut.
Oh, my wedding reception is gonna be I got some things planned for me and you that's gonna be a little surprise to her.
Oh God.
Trust me.
Be careful, man. Just be careful. Be careful, it's a big day.
Oh, I know, but she's always
man.
Like you haven't. She wants me to sing to her, so that might happen at the wedding. Just so you know.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we could definitely figure something out. All right.
Yeah, but that's my talent. Besides that, like I said, the other talent was I was pretty good at racing bikes for a very long time. Traveled the country. I was top. I've won multiple state titles. I was number one in the region for a bit, and
nice.
Until I got hurt, and just from there, hit 18, or not really 18, a little older than that. I raced until I was like 24, but then it's like you get hurt. Now you got bills, you got work, and then my schooling took off, my work took off. And
it's tough to manage.
Constantly working and fishing.
Yeah, exactly. And I it's funny. I see a lot of people that like they sort of kind of can relate like that, where they have an athletic background, whatever that might be. There might be some sort of competition or sport or something like that, and then like something like I think of Delirious. Delirious was a semi-pro football player, and he got messed up pretty bad, and like so he's like fishing kind of scratches that itch, and it sort of works. So it's like that's pretty crazy, I'm like, there's definitely, I feel like there's a certain group of anglers out there where some of what they're coming from is from, other activities, either organized team sports or, like racing or something like that, where there's a level of competition. I don't know. It's kind of nuts.
I actually raced out your way a lot. I raced every Friday night in Westfield.
Oh, in Westfield. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, very nice.
Every Friday night for years.
Yeah, BMX is huge, man. In Western Mass, there's a lot, and I know in Westfield, and I think in Southwick, there's a big track.
Yeah, that's motocross though.
Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but yeah, that's huge in Southwick. That's huge. Yeah, right next to Congamon.
Yep. What is your goal for fishing? And as somebody who's like taking this leap into big boat tournaments, like what is your goal in the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to see this carry you?
Next 5 to 10 years, I want to win a regional event.
Yep.
really push myself to the next limit because I'm kind of jumping into it fast. I have a lot of supporters behind me.
Oh yeah.
So shout out to my work for that. They, as I said, they paid some big entry fees for me next year, and they looked at me and they're like, we don't really care how you do. Just go get that experience. And there's not a lot of people that'll pay $1,800 for an entry fee for an experience.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm ready to take off, is just get into that 200 boat field and just go all hands in. And my goal for next year is, it sounds pretty stupid, but I want to finish top 75 in an event. I mean, out of 200 boats, top 75, I think is where I want to start off. That's my goal. I don't want to be like, I'm going to go out and win, because that's not going to, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I'm not going to have that mentality.
Yeah.
Top 75, at least one of the 3 events, I'd be pretty happy.
That's
I
pretty
say
awesome.
my year is complete. So,
and that's the thing. It's like, you look at it in that situation, because that's the thing. You say, like, 200 boats that you're going and competing in. It's not even really so much about winning. It is, where did you place? Where did you place in that? And then, like, look at where those other boats that were around you, how did they do? Like, what was the difference between this position and this position? Was it crazy close all the way through? Or, I mean, I definitely get that. And I think that's the right sort of mentality, especially going into it. Sort of like, get the experience, start at one level, and like build that up. But again, like, I have zero competitive fishing background whatsoever,
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I can certainly see where logistically that just makes sense to go and take a look at it. And like, top 75, looking to break that 75 line.
It's a little bit better than 50% of the field, and it's got your foot wet, and you can say that you were in the middle of the pack trying to. It only takes, like I said, 5 bites.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 5 bites for 2.5 days, but it's that's what my goal is. 10 solid fish at each tournament.
I'm curious. What is Sean had done an episode of Bass and Brews with Paul, and they had a huge conversation, and what came up in that was luck. Like, where does luck factor into fishing? Where do you think that luck factors into fishing?
I think there's a lot of luck in fishing.
Yeah.
If you ask me. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna search forever for the presentation. You're gonna find the bait they want. You're gonna do your exploring, find the drop offs, find the wind blowing into the weed beds. But the fish still got to be there.
Yeah.
And there's things that happen each trip where, oh, that was lucky, or trying to boat flip a 6-pounder and the hook comes out and the fish lands on the deck of your boat. Like, that's lucky to me. That's a good point. You need the good luck on your side sometimes. I've had plenty of fish, even this year, get to the bank. I had probably a solid 3 or 4 more 5-pounders get physically in front of me where I could see them, and they give you that glare. You see their eye, your eye meets their eye, and they shake their head, and that buka bullshit comes flying back at your face like it's freaking shotgun.
Yep.
And that's just a slap at you. I mean, but there's luck involved. I mean, there's skill. There's obviously a crap ton of skill you need, but you need that luck of things to go your way sometimes. And,
no, that makes sense.
I mean, I didn't personally listen to that episode. Was Sean the pro luck, or
Sean was definitely the pro luck. He's like, there's a factor in luck, and I think one of the things that he said that I hadn't even really considered before is, you could look at, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but you could look at a specific piece of structure and it could scream that, yes, there's fish there, but it doesn't mean that there's a 20 or a 22 or a 23.
Mm-hmm.
All it means is that there could, you know what I mean? So the luck is like, I mean, if you could say like, no, I'm going to fish that ledge because that's where all the 20 pluses are. It's only 17s over there. Yeah, exactly. If you had that ability, you'd go and do that anywhere you want. But that's not a skill, I mean, that's just like that's the other thing too. It's like I last year I was saying this a lot, and I really meant it, was that fishing is a science equally as much as it is an art. And what I've always meant by that is that there are scientific things like specific, there's a roadmap that you can follow, but at the same time, like there's almost like a craftsmanship, the way somebody works a specific bait versus something else, and it doesn't mean you can't try to emulate it or learn or something along those lines. But at the end of the day, there's this myriad, this giant list of variables that happen. And another, and I'll quote Sean again too. Like if you're the kicker and you're playing football, right? After your foot hits that ball and that ball's in the air, if there's a gust of wind that comes out of nowhere, yeah, there's no skill that's gonna fix that per se. So, like I'm with you. I definitely think luck is a part of it. I love to quote Chad Hoover when I say this. Like there's a formula for success. Preparation, experience, and luck. And it's a three-way ratio. If you don't have enough preparation or experience, you have to rely on luck to get by. It could happen.
100% agree with that.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, people win money on slot machines every day. More people lose, but like there are, it could happen. In the other expense, if you've got the experience and the preparation involved, luck becomes much less of a factor. I love that mentality of it. But I don't know why it dawned on me, but I was like, oh yeah, I wonder what Ryan thinks about this. Unreal. I assume you've traveled specifically to fish, right?
I have. I mean, not too far. I mean, Champlain, New York, not really too far south yet, but with the MLF taking me down to Maryland a few times next year and out in Pennsylvania, I'll be doing some traveling there. So they'll be taking me places in the future, but not too far in the past.
So when you go out for some of these, this is what I'm most curious about with MLF. When you go out on here, it's you with an official, right? There's no co-angler?
So you can have a co-angler. There are co-anglers for MLF.
Oh, okay.
And it's randomized boat, so I could get stuck with a co-angler on my boat. I can't be like, oh, I don't want one. It's randomized. So if there's 200 boats and there's 200 co-anglers signed up, everybody gets a co-angler.
Everybody gets a co-angler. Gotcha.
Yeah. Or if there's 200 boats and there's 50, it's a random out of a hat. You might get one, you might not get one.
Gotcha.
And then you just got to be back at the time for weigh-in.
And it's just you with the. Oh, all right. And it's you with the official, or
it's no official.
Oh, there's no official. Oh, okay.
It's not like the pro MLF. You still have 5 fish. You got to get back. There's not enough people for that.
I gotcha. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I was like, at that level, that's nuts to me. The amount of people getting into it at that level. Let's talk as far as like back to travel. Is there like a destination or a dream trip that you need to make?
I'd probably say Southern Florida.
Yeah,
I want to go for peacock bass. That's my goal. That's my lifelong fish. Is try to get a peacock bass. It's just something about it the fight is just so unreal. It's like everybody says it's like a smallmouth on crack.
Yeah.
and that's a weird way to put it, but I mean,
it really is. But
say that, but that's what I really want to catch as a peacock.
I love it. That sounds awesome. I mean, South Florida, let's be honest, as a New Englander, you say South Florida, immediately I'm thinking like, yeah, January, February, that's the time you want to go. Get out there and, do some hardcore bass fishing.
Yes, this is our DJ, yes.
Yeah.
Miss Butcher just got home.
Miss Butcher. She's loving life already. What's your typical rod and reel arsenal look like, or like your go-to top 5 combos?
Go-to top 5. I mean, I'm all Shimano guy now.
Yep.
So spinning gear, I'd 100% go with my Banfords. Yep. If I had to bring 2 Banfords, I'd bring the 3000 and the 2000.
Yep.
2000 I've been using a lot for the drop shots, and I do have a 2500 mixed in there as well, but you can use that for anything. Yep. But the 3000 I've been using a lot of my shaky heads. I use spinning tackle for my shaky heads.
Okay.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah. I do too.
And then do you?
Yep.
I heard a lot of people that use only strictly bait casters for shaky heads. I like the feeling of a spinner on my shaky head.
Yep.
Bait cast on the spinning, I'd probably go 7 foot medium, maybe medium heavy. Of course, my arc rods, my Invoker Pros.
Yep.
Those of them I'm throwing a lot right now. Bait casters, I'd probably go again. I throw my 7.4 medium arc reinforcer with a Shimano DC 151 left hand. I think that's 6.5 to 1, or maybe it's the 8. I'm not sure off the top of my head, to be honest.
Yep.
But those are my two. That's what I'll throw my chatterbaits on.
Yeah.
And if I was going to go with I always have the big rod. I'd go with I have a 710 arc broomstick.
Yep.
And I can throw up to 8 ounces on that.
Jesus.
Which most of my swim baits are in the 5 to 7 ounce range.
Yep.
So those are my 3. I have the Komodo SS on that 300 size.
Oh wow.
That's my swim bait reel.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Did you change out the handle on that?
I don't like the power handle.
Oh really? Okay.
My buddy has the same exact reel as me.
Yep.
And even I'm not knocking Okuma at all, but I've heard other power handles, when you're throwing a 6 ounce lure.
Yep.
And you huck that thing as hard as you can, with the momentum of the huck, that power handle sometimes engages, and your swim bait will go boom.
Gotcha.
Off.
Yeah.
It'll just take off. So I'm not a fan of the power handle. Yeah, maybe if I was throwing like on a boat, like for muskie that's like right next to the boat. But if I'm hucking swim baits pretty hard,
yeah,
the force of some of the throws will engage the power handle. And if you're not careful, you don't know how to tie proper knots.
Yep.
You might be a pretty unhappy guy when your $300 pass is 100 yards away from you, still getting hit by a fish with no line.
That's
because I've had that happen before too.
When you do throw a bait that's got that price tag, that's like got that value behind it, have you lost one?
Yes. I was just going to get into that. That's going to be my.
That's your fail story.
Yeah, that's my fail story. So
I won't ruin it.
We'll get there in a minute.
Yeah, I won't ruin that. That's awesome. Because that's the thing. I mean, there are like, I know some people who fish swim baits, and to talk to them, you would think that they've never landed one in a tree, when in reality, they've just gotten really good at climbing trees. You know what I mean? Like,
I've climbed, I've swam. It's not fun.
You got to do what you got to do. I mean, yeah.
If I can physically see a $200 lure sitting there, I lost it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
Unless I'm fishing in like a river with crazy current where it's gonna kill me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the thing.
If it's reasonable, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I've hopped on people's docks for losing baits. I mean,
yeah,
the people en masse don't like that, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you don't want to leave them an ornament, you know.
Yeah,
would they rather that?
Do that?
Let's talk. No. So this is the question. There is the official Jigs and Bigs white van, like coming down, barreling down the road, playing Metallica's Battery at full volume, and we're coming to pick you up, and we're bringing you to an unnamed body of water. Dude, have no idea the conditions are. We've never fished it. It's something you've never fished, but we have the Jigs and Bigs credit card with us, and we're going to Old Glory. And you can build your ideal combo to fish any conditions. What are you building, and what are you spooling up on it? And what are you going to throw?
Old Glory.
Good old, or maybe we make it BPS just to mix it up. The old.
I'm with Arc now, so
yeah.
I'd be going my Arc reinforcer, 7.4 medium. I'd stick with medium because I don't know what I'm fishing.
Yep.
No, medium heavy. Go medium heavy.
Okay.
I'll throw on the either SLX DC or the Curado DC.
Yep.
With 12 to 15 pound fluoro. One lure, you said, right?
One lure.
Oh. Where's the lake?
Western Massachusetts.
All right, so not. All right. I'd go. I'd have to go chatterbait. I want to say square bill.
Yeah,
but I've been killing it on square bill, but I'd probably go chatterbait.
You got to do. That's the thing. You got to do what you got to do. I think that's an awesome move. Like, I've never answered this question. Somebody had asked me. They're like, how would you answer that question? I'll share my answer. What I would do is I have the rod. What I would use is the Arc Brandon Cobb series medium heavy, 7-foot medium heavy. It's a kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have on there. I would put my Corrado XG on there, the 8-speed.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd put my Corrado XG on there. With that, I would put 30-pound braid.
Woo!
With a 12 with a 15-pound floral leader.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
And a swim jig.
Okay.
Give me a 3/8 ounce swim jig, nice and in the middle, and that way I can fish grass. I can do a lot with it. I can cover a lot of things with it. And I've built this year. I have gotten more confidence built up in fishing a swim jig than anything else. Like, it is. I really feel like it's so diverse. But I would want the braid on there in case I did have crazy grass. So that way I can just cut right through it. That's the idea.
Yeah.
For my main line, that would be it. But I usually always throw fluoro when I'm throwing any kind of jig, or almost any kind of moving bait, really.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I'm 100% fluoro now, besides frog fishing.
Yeah. I mean, really, top water, I pretty much always throw braid. Now,
actually swim baits, I don't throw braid. I don't throw fluoro.
You throw
For
mono.
big swim baits, I throw. I replace my line on my swim bait reel every 3 times I go out.
Really? Okay. What do you put on there?
I just go 50-pound big game.
Yep.
And there's stretch in there, and
I
haven't had a lure pop off since I switched to mono.
Well,
the story I'll tell you in that womp is going to be a braid story.
Oh yeah.
So
it can certainly happen. It's funny too, though. Like, when you're talking about a rod, there was somebody in a video who was talking about something in the system has to be able to give.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you're, if you're using braid, there's zero stretch there. Something somewhere has to give. Maybe it's your drag. Maybe it's the rod. Maybe you're using a medium instead of a medium heavy, or a medium heavy instead of a heavy. But like, when you're throwing like a rod, like, that's basically a broomstick, it's like that only. There's got to be some kind of give. Yeah, exactly. It's only going to have so much. So yeah, line stretch is huge, man. Even if it's just the leader, Yeah. Like, even that is something. It really is, because whenever you've got everything that's crazy tight all the time, it can kind of work against you.
Combust.
Yeah. The shit.
At some
can
point,
shut
you're gonna get an explosion, and you're not gonna like it.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's talk about your 2 major stories, like the cheerleader one, the one that you're like most proud of on the water, when you're like, yes, this is the story. When someone says, "Oh, you fish," that story that you're going to share with them. And then on the other hand, that other story, that sucker.
All right. So start off with the best story. So I haven't caught a giant pike for quite some time, and earlier this year I went out with my buddy Don on his boat, and we're pre-fishing for a bass tournament in the Connecticut River. You've seen this fish. I posted it before.
Yep.
And I'm throwing finesse tackle, 8-pound fluoro into the weeds, and as soon as my worm hit that lure, I had an explosion. I thought this was the biggest bass of my life. Like, my heart sank. And then when I realized it was one of the biggest pike I've probably ever caught.
Oh yeah.
It was mind blowing. It was probably one of the best thing that's ever happened to me on a boat. And to land that sucker.
Oh
on
yeah.
8-pound fluoro. the only reason I caught that is probably because of the Vanford. The drag system in that reel is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And I had to play that fish for a solid almost 10 minutes with this 8-pound fluoro. It would just come to the boat, it would go. And every time it turned its head, I was like, it's going to pop, it's going to pop, it's going to snap. But it didn't. And that's where I think luck comes into my side too.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to that. We got it into the boat.
That's
inside the fish's mouth where that hook was.
Yep.
The only spot where it didn't have teeth. It was crazy.
No kidding.
It was like stuck in the one corner of its mouth where there was a gap of no teeth.
That is
I couldn't have done that again if I tried. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
yep, that's
dude,
it.
that is a pig right there. On dainty tackle like that.
8-pound fluoro that boy came into the boat. It was crazy.
That is awesome, man. That is freaking huge. I have yet to catch a northern at all.
You didn't catch one in Champlain?
No, didn't catch one at all.
I thought you did.
I had this situation happen where I had just caught the biggest largemouth I had caught the entire day. Just released that. No. We put him in the box, and I was fishing a jig, and I had these huge Z-Man cross eyes, like 1/2-ounce jig, just giant with a big orange craw on there. And I was like, all right, cool. We're going to work this spot, see if we can get on anything else. And we weren't really having any luck. And the plan was we were going to move to another spot. So I was using that. I was using one of those fast reels, one of the Concept A2s. And
okay, yeah. That's 13, right?
Yep. And I we're like, all right, this isn't panning out. Let's go ahead and change up spots. The guy we were with, Ian, had a whole plan in mind. It's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I'm swimming back this jig and this monster pike. This would have been the biggest pike anybody caught in the entire trip. This monster comes up with its left side to the surface of the water, comes up, and he's trailing on my jig. And this was that moment where, like, my eyes met his, and we're just like, I'm like, you motherfucker. And he just turned right down and went down. We were in like 40 feet of water. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
The last time I was at Champlain was with my buddy Dave, actually the best man for my wedding. He was taking me out. We were pike fishing. I'm bringing back a spinnerbait to the boat.
Yep.
I can see the pike. I can see my spinnerbait. He goes to eat. He bites above the spinnerbait, eats the line, and my spinnerbait just falls to the bottom. And this would have been the biggest pike in my life. This would have it was definitely bigger than 40 inches. It was big.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I watched him eat above the damn hook.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I was so mad.
Oh, that sucks, dude. Oh, and because when you see him kind of coming up in the water like that, it's like a Jaws moment. You're like, we're going to need a bigger boat. That's my favorite movie
of all time, actually.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I
loved your podcast when you were talking about it. I was like, I know every line of that movie.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, my goodness. So what about the epic fail? Tell us about this.
Oh, the epic fail.
Let me get some tissues.
All right, so I was fishing a pond not too far. Not too far from here. I recently won. You've heard of Pat's Baits, right? The big swim bait company.
Oh,
Very expensive.
Yep.
I recently won a Pat's Bait, and I was throwing it, and got a couple dinks here and there. I casted it. This is when I had only braid on my swim bait rod, and it went. Bloop. And it was just at that time when the sun was coming down. It wasn't dark yet.
Yep.
I could see it. In about maybe a second and a half after it hit the water, it got gulped up. A fish came and ate it, and I had no way to retrieve it. I was so heartbroken. I literally sat there on the ground and just looked at the water. That was my biggest disappointment right there. It's just, it was a big fish too.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was gone.
I've had something similar happen when I was using a frog with braid. Not the fish or anything, but like where it's like if you stop braid abruptly, sometimes it'll just snap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's just a tendency that it has. I don't know if it's because of the low stretch. I don't know if it's because of the certain line of braid I was using at the time. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I've had it happen before where I went to go stop my spool, and that stop was enough where my line stopped moving and that bait kept flying. And it was just one of those things. And I'm like, that's like when you're talking about using braid on swim baits. I was like, yeah, there's no way. I couldn't do it. There's no way. No. Just because of that exact reason. Like I think mono might be the right choice, but you know.
And that's when I was like, oh, that's right then and there. I took all the line off. I was like, this isn't it for me. And I was
I don't know if it makes it better or worse that you won that bait versus buying it. I don't know what's worse. Like
it's still pretty bad because I had to pay into the month. I had to pay into the monthly. So,
oh, dude, that sucks. Sucks.
I mean, that poor goddamn fish has got a nice lure in its mouth.
That's true. Gulp that sucker. Oh my god! And you were bank fishing?
Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch. Because at that point, you're like, maybe it'll drift closer to me and I can grab it. Cool. Okay. We'll just hold off. You know, we'll see what happens. Maybe some wind will start pushing it my way.
It was maybe a second, 2 seconds maybe. It was enough to where after your lure hit the water and all the wakes, you could see your lure.
Yep.
All of a sudden, I just saw the swirl and it was gone. I mean, it was a 7-inch bait and that bait was gone.
Yeah.
That was a big fish.
That was a big fish.
The 7-inch bait was completely gone.
That sucks, man. Well, Ryan, this is your opportunity, man. Go ahead and promote yourself. Let people know where they can reach out and check you out on social media. If you have any events coming up, any big tournaments that you kind of want to plug, opportunity to go ahead and go for it.
Yes, I mean, everybody pretty much knows me as the Butcher. You can find me at rjb.fishing on Instagram. Always on there, pretty much 24/7. For tournaments, I have a tournament coming up actually this coming Sunday. Another tournament up on the 31st at our favorite lake, Quabog.
Nice.
Gonna end the year off on a tournament with my buddy Don up on the Connecticut River the weekend after Thanksgiving. So nice and cold, smallmouth only tournament. So
cool.
That'll be pretty fun. Then starting next year, right off in April, got the first FLW. 2 weeks later, I got my wedding. Who knows where that's going to take me?
Yep.
And everybody just keep following. I appreciate all the support, all the sponsors out there, especially Old Glory, supported me from the beginning of this year, and glad to bring them on the journey.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, hey, this was really good. A long time coming. Great to have you on the show, man. Do me a favor. I know you've got some giants that you've got pictures of. Send me your favorite one, and I'll use it for the artwork for this episode, and we'll take it from there.
All right, will do.
Awesome, man. Well, you have a good one. I'm gonna go and stuff my face with some pasta, and then go to bed because I got to get up early and fish in the morning.
Yeah, I got to get up early and go to work tomorrow, then fish.
Nice. So, there you go, man.
We'll catch you, Bobby. We'll talk.
All right. Have a good one, dude. Take care.
You too.
I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you know how it goes. We get to about this time of the day, and it's about the time to wrap up Jigs and Bigs. Great interview. Awesome interview, actually. It was really good to have Ryan on, kind of get a little bit of history about what the Butcher is about, what he's got up his sleeves, what kind of an adventure and experience is he exactly looking for. Well, I'm glad we got to find out all that stuff. He's got a pretty supportive system back there to make all this stuff happen, and that's pretty unbelievable. But great stuff in general. This show has been amazing. Like, you want to talk about an absolute roller coaster? We went from talking about we talked a little bit about fishing this week. We talked somewhat.
We talked a lot about fishing, man. We did.
I mean, we covered. You know, there was a lot of tournament stuff to cover. I feel like Just the Tip was a huge one, especially as the majority of our audience is based out here in Western Massachusetts, and I truly do feel like they are all going to get something out of this, because like I said, we're just starting to kind of see this real actual fall transition now with these temperature changes as far as water temp goes. And Ellie chimes in and says it's always a roller coaster. She is not wrong. She is not wrong. Yeah, no, not at all.
True statement.
The FTG this week was amazing. I was blown away that we heard from Lauren day of. I think that's amazing. I was curious about what we were going to do for FTG this week, and look, I was curious, and the FTG gods delivered. Damn it.
Yeah, and you know what we should mention too before we bid our audience adieu, who it appears to be singly Ellie at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the listeners that listen to this after the fact.
Yes. Yeah. Should we reveal that we're going to be recording remotely next week? Yeah. Well, I just did it, I guess. Should we reveal where?
Why not?
I don't know. Why not?
Why not? Why not?
We have some business in Southern Connecticut. Let me tell you something. We got some business in Southern Connecticut. We will be down there. We may bring some recording equipment down there to Three Bells Outfitter. We're going to see Lauren. We're going to see Derek. Maybe Ted, baby.
I don't know if you sound like Dusty Rhodes or if you sound like, what is you remember the movie Coming to America, right?
Yeah.
What is the dude's name that sings in the band Sexual Chocolate?
Oh my God, I have
Eddie
no
Murphy
idea.
plays him. I can't think of his name. That's who you sound just. Although I feel like that also is right in with Dusty Rhodes, but I'm like, that's in my mind. Like, slap a little Jerry curl on you, Sean. Done deal. And then Waterboy, Waterboy all day.
You know what?
Bobby
We're gonna keep talking about
Boucher.
this. You want to keep talking about this shit. So when fucking Cornette and his crew eventually sue us for fucking ripping off their Dusty shit in 1997. Let me think about this. It was December of 1997. There was a WWF at the time, pay-per-view in Springfield, Mass.
Yep.
I got a ticket late. I'm in the fourth row. If you go back and watch the D-Generation X pay-per-view, right at the beginning, there's an idiot in the fourth row standing up holding a yellow Dusty 316 polka dotted sign. Guess who that was?
Oh, yeah. It's you.
Oh, it's me. All right. I still have the sign.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do love that I have friends that have created their own impression this way in media in one way or another. Like you with this thing. Or also, have I ever told you the story about Jim Dandy? There's a Marilyn Manson DV, I think that's called God, Guns, and Glory.
Yes, I've actually heard of that.
Okay, so there is, this is right in the height of Marilyn Manson having like the big buzz from the religious right, protesting his concerts and all this other stuff. And there's a video clip.
Early 2000s or late 90s?
Yep, late 90s, early 2000s. And the video, the concert footage is all from this era. There is footage from a show in Worcester, Massachusetts, where there is a gentleman from one of these religious organizations holding up a sign like saying, "Stop Marilyn Manson" or something like that. And he's like ranting, and someone's got a video camera on him, and he goes, "They're in there, and there's this, and there's such, and there's sodomy." And then who shows up but the old Jim Dandy jumps out, and he starts like dry humping the air, and he's like, "Sodomy!" right in the dude's face.
Excellent.
And this was the best man at my wedding.
Claim to fame, the sodomy guy on the Marilyn Manson.
Sodomy guy, sodomy. And the guy looks at him, and I'm gonna look up this clip, and I'll share it. And so the guy looks at him, and he goes, "Yeah, like this idiot." So you get the reaction that he gives. Oh, it's so good. It is so good. One of these days, I'll share Jimmy's toast from the wedding.
Excellent.
Yeah, his speech was magic. Actually, my father, like, still is like, that is one of the best monologues I've ever seen in my life. He's like, that was amazing. I've never seen that ever in my life. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable.
Excellent.
A great show. I'm blown away with this show. I think it was really great. Hope you guys learned a lot. As always, please reach out and make sure you're following us on social media, specifically on Instagram, and not just Jigs and Bigs, obviously, because we're doing giveaways on there every time we cross that 1,000 follower threshold, and then larger ones every time we cross a threshold of 5K. But also on the Sean the Fisherman and the Bobby Roast Beef Instagram pages as well, especially the Bobby Roast Beef one right now. now, we've just crossed over the 2K mark. That means there's a giveaway coming this week. So if you're listening to this show and it's a brand new episode, make sure you go and follow and enter that giveaway. You're going to want to. Trust me. It's going to be awesome. Everybody's going to, want to get in on this. So lots of great stuff coming up. I don't know. I don't want to tease too much what we have coming up in the future because it seems like every time we do that, we have a change up in plans or something like that. Yeah. But I do know, we are recording remote. If it's one of these things where I don't know. Let's see what we can plan. All I got to say is for you guys listening to this show, keep a close eye on Instagram because if there's anything that is going on at Three Bells while we're recording and you want to be a part of it all, that's where you're going to find out like what the details are all right there. So definitely keep an eye on Instagram. I think that about does it for us, Sean. Is there anything else that we need to do? I'm so tired, man. It is.
We've officially reached the end of the internet.
Yeah. We absolutely have. Oh, I want to give a shout out. A happy 100th birthday shout out to my wife's grandmother, Leona. She turned 100 today. Congratulations. Happy birthday. It was awesome to go out there and see her. You guys probably saw in the story, we had a small birthday party in her town at a local American Legion. We had a great time and just awesome food. I mean, some of my wife's family that are from out of state that we haven't seen in forever was really kind of nice. Like we haven't seen since like the whole COVID decade started, it's been a while. So it was very, very nice to see some of those guys. So very, very, very cool. So absolutely happy birthday. And I know I mentioned in the interview with the Butcher that I was going to end the show on a special note with a special song, a song that's very fitting, a song that can only be described as obscene. From a very close group of friends of mine known as Torn Asunder. This is from the 1998 album In Painful Remembrance. This is The Butcher. Tight lines, everybody. We'll see ya.